Hello, ladies, gentlemen, and whatever else you want to call yourself. I went out. I found him. He's busy feeding on the leftists. I dragged him back. Here is Nomad.
I'm not. I'm not feasting on a leftist. I'm actually eating a Pop Tart. Thank you very much.
A leftist Pop Tart. Now we understand. Okay. Oh
And
my God. That wasn't a Pop Tart. You was literally shoving a leftist into a toaster. Oh,
it was a Pop
dude.
Tart. Stop making
Sure.
Stop inventing things that might taste delicious. Anyway, we have stories. Would you like to get to a few of them? Not a whole plethora of stories, but there's some things that I want to talk about that are going to totally infuriate a lot of people because
I
it's who I
completely
am.
understand, especially after you eating a leftist Pop Tart. Carry on.
Let's get on to the first story. Excuse me.
Hmm.
Trudeau moved to secret location as vax protest grows. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and his family were moved from their residence. Now, remember, he was self-isolating because he had COVID.
Yeah.
Okay. Where his family to a secret location on Saturday due to security risk posed by growing anti-vax protests in the capital of Ottawa, the CBC reports.
Yeah.
Protesters initially descended on the streets Saturday to push back against the country's vaccine mandate for long-haul truck drivers, many of whom operate across the U.S.-Canadian border. However, it has since turned into a massive, though currently peaceful. Don't you love this? Currently peaceful, right? Protests against the variety of public health measures. Many truckers and other protesters have flooded the Parliament precinct. Trudeau is currently in isolation after one of his children tested positive for COVID. Okay.
Uh, but before you do, one thing, okay, Matt reminded me. I did find a picture of Trudeau. I'm going to send you the picture because I saw it, so you deserve to. I'm just going to say, check the eyebrow. All yours.
what did you do, Jenson? What did you do?
No, it actually isn't me for once. But take a look at that image, and then I sent a message to Voice in the hope he'd do something, and that is have Buttigieg looking at him, and the two of them looking at each other lovingly, because I think that would work. I really do.
I
And by
think
the way,
that's a
we
bit
really
photo.
need to.
I think that's a bit Photoshop, dude. I'm just putting it out there. That
I
wasn't.
hope it is. I really hope it is.
I'll be honest with you. I'm not. I'm not. I'm always willing to take the Mickey out of freaking Trudeau because he's a commie. Okay.
Yeah.
And I think that there's more than just a little bit of evidence that he is the son of Castro. Okay. I would like to see
Okay.
a DNA test on that. I really would. Okay.
By the way, I actually really think we should rename him Prime Minister Runaway. I think it actually fits nicely,
Well,
especially with what he's doing.
with this, are you freaking kidding me? You're the leader of your country,
Yeah.
and you run and hide.
Yeah.
They took the Mickey when the Secret Service took
Bless you.
Donald Trump down to the basement of the White House, right, in the security area in the basement of the White House, saying he was cowering and hiding, all right, with real protests that were violent
Yeah.
outside of the White House. Okay,
Yeah.
and yet did you read the tone of this story? Well, they moved into a secret location for his safety because of this, totally serious.
Yeah. Pathetic, isn't it? Are you sure you don't want to invade Canada? Just, take it off our hands. We probably won't even
This Canada
bother.
proves the lie, right? You guys constantly
Yeah.
say that if they had oil, we would invade. Canada has oil. Have we invaded Canada?
Not yet. I'm actually a bit concerned. I'll, Are you telling me it's not oil that you're after? It's sand. I thought you had a lot of sand down south.
Okay,
It's
what
now. Come on.
country, what sand
Yeah.
country, right, did we actually invade?
Iraq.
Okay, any other one?
Um. Lebanon. I think.
We didn't invade Lebanon.
Didn't you?
No. And what's
Oh.
more is Lebanon was known for cedar and other things before the Arabs cut everything down and left it desolate.
At which point I'm going back to the sand point again. Okay. All right. Fair point. Um.
Excuse me,
Let's
folks.
see. No worries, mate. Let's see. Other sand places. Libya. You can't really say that you didn't do stuff to Libya. You lobbed enough rockets at Libya to, drop subtle hints.
We okay. I think people have a misnomer of what we did in Libya. Okay, quite frankly,
All right. All
back in
right.
the late '80s, all right, did we fire rockets and bombs and bomb Libya? Yes.
Huh?
Was it just for the hell of it?
Yes. I mean, no.
Yeah, well, I mean, what the hell? We'll just let the Libyans blow up service members in Berlin, right?
No, I'm not saying you didn't. Though I will say, in defence, I don't know if you guys did the boots on the ground thing. Okay,
We
I
didn't do
don't
any
know.
boots on the ground. What number one? Now number
Okay
two
then.
is we flew over. We dropped bombs where we
Mhm.
needed to, right? The second wave, all right, did not drop its ordnance because we had hit all the targets we had looked for,
Okay.
right? Which means if we had wanted to really make sure that Muammar was dead, Muammar would have died.
Yeah.
So the idea that we just drop these things for the hell of it is a bunch of crap.
Okay.
How many Americans have to get killed before we frickin' start taking action against this shit?
Actually, I can give you an honest answer to that, and I'm not joking. One. The moment one of your people get killed, you should be involved in punishing the force that allowed it to happen. And
The
note
force
the
that
way I put
encouraged
that.
it to happen, and we had
Yeah.
we know for a fact that the Libyans did it. So we were tolerating this shit for a long time. Pan Am 103 was one example.
Can't say I know that one. Sorry.
This is an airliner that got blown up over Scotland. You
Oh, was
should
that
know
the
that.
Lockerbie one?
Mm-hmm.
Oh no, the Lockerbie one. That was its number, was it? Okay, cool.
Okay,
Yep.
that was done by the Libyans too.
Yep.
And you bastards sent that son of a bitch back.
It gave
Just,
you a reason to go in there and bomb the place.
just to just put it out there.
Yeah, you've no need to say thank you. It's okay. We done that so as you could go in and have a reason to blow the place up. It's okay. We don't mind helping.
We have another story though about protesting a little bit later on, folks. But we're gonna. I want to say something about this shit with Trudeau. Okay. First of all, it's obvious that the quote unquote anti-vax mandates, and let's be honest, it's not anti-vax mandates. It's the government's response to COVID. Government's response to COVID across the world, all right, is in the minds of people inadequate. Okay?
Yep.
And what I mean by that is what they've done hasn't made things better. People are asking, why am I not safer from all of these things that you claimed were going to make me safer? So people are naturally saying, do something. You said you were going to do something. Well, do something. Okay, and I get that. What did you expect them to do, though?
By the way, Nomad, Straight's Mail has said you hear about the ATF is confiscating FRTs. Well, it's all well and good him saying all these things. I know that ATF is alcohol, tobacco, and firearms, but what the heck is an FRT?
I think it's a federal license for owning like things like machine guns and stuff.
Oh, confiscating that. Oh, okay, that just got interesting.
I'm not sure exactly the term.
Hmm.
Please, let me look that up.
Yeah, no, go ahead, man. I, it's just he put it in there, so I thought I'd ask. But you forced reset trigger. Thank you very much, Matt.
Okay. Yeah, basically it's the what they're talking about that would take a semi-automatic and turn it into a automatic.
Okay.
Basic, what was it? What do they call it? Bump stock. It's the bump stock shit.
Mm-hmm. All right. Okay. Cool.
All right. Basically, they're trying to prevent that, but so it isn't the license, which is good. All right. I wasn't sure what he was referring to because there is a federal license for machine guns. You can own a machine gun legally in the United States. All right. Now, there's two ways to own
Yeah.
one. There's one with the federal firearms license. All right. If you're licensed to own it, all right, you can have a machine gun. Right. It's a lengthy process and it's an expensive process. Takes you. It'll cost you upwards around $10,000 to get the license.
Hmm?
Okay. just just so you understand. All right. Now, there's
Hmm.
another way to own them. Is if the weapon was actually built and produced prior to the the law when it came into effect in the 19 I think it was 1930s.
That'll be the grandfather thing I've heard you guys talking about.
Right. If you have a weapon
Uh,
that goes past a certain backdates to a certain area, you can have it. This is why people can privately own Civil War cannons. Okay?
yeah.
And what most people don't know,
That tickles me. That really does. I'm sorry, but that tickles me. It really does.
you know, if you want to own a Civil War cannon, you can own a Civil War cannon. You
Hmm.
can actually now Civil War cannon, the old powder cannons where you're ramming the powder in the front and everything. To be honest, those kind of cannons are hard to regulate because it's a freaking brass tube, right? Or a steel tube if you make it out of steel, right? It's a metal tube.
Yeah.
Okay. The powder charges and things that they used. Okay. That what is that? That's basically nothing, right? So those kind of cannons are still you could build one and put it in your house. Now there's disadvantages to those weapons. Obviously, they're not breech loading weapons, right?
Mhm.
You can't get the kind of pressures, right, that you need to fire a freaking modern everyday shell, right, out
Yeah.
of those things. Okay, um, and I'm not suggesting anybody do this. Okay, don't misunderstand me. All right, but because actually making a cannon, right, is not an easy process. You have to know what you're doing when it comes to melting metal and so forth, right? And you got to have equipment. People think, you see that cannon sitting there on that trolley, right? And you're like, okay, well, how much can that weigh? A lot more than you think.
Yeah.
All right, those things are heavy, right? You're not going to lift them,
Hmm.
right? I don't care if you're Arnold. I don't care if you're Arnold Schwarzenegger. All right, you're not lifting a cannon barrel. Okay.
So what you're telling me is I can't have a cannon, one on each shoulder, and point at the enemy. Okay, I
You're not
understand. All
gonna
right.
you're not gonna see that.
That'd be really funny. You fire both and disappear backwards really quickly.
then that's the other thing. If you've ever really witnessed them fire those things, you would understand that those things were meant to roll in place. They would then chalk them, and even when they chalked those wheels and they fired that thing, half the time it would rock back past the chalk. You know,
Yeah.
so it's not a modern firearm. No, you could do things to reduce. You could use a lot of the recoil methods that they used on modern artillery to reduce the recoil of a powder charge, right? A muzzle loading type of weapon. Okay, but yeah, those things are not. You could own one of those now, and you could build one of those. But what you can't do is I could not legally build a 105 howitzer unless I was licensed to do so.
I like the fact that you point out that there is actually a license list. Now, the question is, okay, with this cannon barrel thing, if I get 6 of them, could I actually mount them to a motor and have a minigun cannon? Is that legal? Or am I beginning to get a little bit silly with my guns at this moment?
These are front-loading weapons, dude.
So someone's going to have to load them really quickly then, that's all.
But it is illegal.
No.
Hold on, because I'm going to answer your question in a way.
Yeah, okay, no, what, right. You're saying that they're front loaded, I agree, but in all honesty, once you've fired 6 cannon shells or something, if it's still going, it don't really matter what happens to you. You're probably going to die anyway, because 6 cannon shells are going to wreck face no matter what.
It's not going to wreck the face of a modern tank.
It's going to make the people inside really deaf.
It's going to irritate them. Right? It'll irritate them, and that's about it. But to answer your question, all right, if you have a 1870s Gatling gun, it is legal for you to own without an FFL. Right? If, however, you built a Gatling gun without an FFL, you would be violating the license. So, in a Gatling gun, now a cannon is a front-loading muzzle loader. You're not going to, what advantage do you have doing it like that rather than just loading 6 cannons and firing them all?
You do like that idea, though, don't you? Come on.
I find it amusing. Let me put it that way. Right? But if you went out and bought a bunch of barrels, right, and then loaded up, put them in a plate, put a front plate and a back plate to hold them, right, and then you synchronize some gears to load shells and fire and so forth. If you built a mechanism like that, right, it would, without an FFL, it would be illegal. But you could own that same thing in a Gatling gun if it was built in the 1870s.
Okay. All right, I'm bending rules here. Now, what if the actual cannons themselves were built in the 1870s, but you modified it later on? Does that become illegal?
Modifying it is rebuilding it. You cannot modify it into a new weapon.
All right, just wanted to check.
You can't say, well, the tube was initially. I can see Jenson looking, how can I get away with this?
Yes, that is exactly what I'm doing.
I know that's what you're doing. How can I get this to work? I've got to figure out a way. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
I'll get back to you on that.
Right. The government does have. Personally, I disagree with the FFL. All right, the Federal Firearms License. While I have no problem with certain regulations of materials, right? I do have a problem with them saying that the weapon itself is a material. Okay.
Okay.
And people are like, well, what if a bad guy got a hold of one of these? What What if a bad guy got a hold of a lot of powder? Right? It doesn't stop things. Right?
Yeah.
Bad guys are not going to roam around with artillery pieces. All right, that they then say, okay, now I'm going to go after you with it. If you own a personally or privately owned artillery piece, what are you going to do with it? Seriously.
Mm.
I can see it from a museum
Well,
perspective. I can see it from people wanting to have it because from an ownership perspective, oh, look what I got. Gee whiz, wow, cool. Okay, great. How often are you going to fire it? Do you
probably
realize the
not, but it'd
cost
be
of the material, the fire, the bags of powder and everything that you use?
no, no. You're probably right, but you got to admit one thing: it would be really intimidating.
It would be if I had like a gun from one of the battleships, right?
Hmm.
Out your front lawn, sitting there going, "Hey, look." Private defense center. It would be interesting. It would be the talk of the town. Okay,
Hmm.
but
Fair.
where am I gonna get the powder? Not even the shell. Where am I gonna get the powder? All right, to launch a 16-inch freaking shell downrange.
Because as you said, someone get my pickup truck and I'll answer his question. I'm actually okay with this as a concept.
You're not putting a 16-inch gun barrel from one of those battleships in your pickup truck. Okay.
Actually, no, I agree. I've been to the Maritime Museum. Them things is big.
Them things is them things is very heavy.
Oh yeah.
Right? You're not towing one of those. You're not towing one of those behind your pickup truck. Okay. Don't get me wrong. I understand that if you a semi might be able to tow one around, maybe.
No, no,
Okay.
no, no. You're not understanding. He doesn't want to tow it around. He wants to mount it on a turret.
Okay. When those guns
Right,
fire,
I'm not joking. You know that is what he's thinking as well.
you can't. Well, yeah. Um, when those things fire, all right,
Hmm.
and they give a full broadside of 9 guns, 9 gun firing, right, broadside,
Yeah.
right. They literally push a battleship, okay, the
Yeah.
entire weight of a battleship, 5 feet from where it was.
So what you're telling me is on a car it'd be really, really good brakes or a really, really good way of going faster suddenly.
I don't think you're gonna fire it once. You're not refired it. That's all I'm saying.
Again, you're firing it once, and whatever you're firing at is probably not going to get around to. Let's get honest here,
Well,
okay?
if at close range, I mean, let's be honest. These things are meant to fire, you know,
Uh, yeah, they're
miles.
meant to fire. Yeah, and they're meant to fire other battleships.
Yes.
So, their accuracy is questionable at fast moving targets. And by fast moving, I mean anything above walking speed.
Well, I mean, battleships can travel at a pretty good clip. I mean, those things are doing. They
Yeah.
could do around 20, 25, 30 knots, couldn't they? If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, but let's be fair. If a car can't hit 75 to 100, what the hell's wrong with you? Okay, I think it's probably going to dodge it. But then again, that's why it's burst. So even if you do dodge, you're probably getting hit by shrapnel and stuff like that.
Well,
And that's
that's
probably going to wreck face again.
yeah. 16-inch round does a lot of damage. It's got a pretty wide pattern, I must admit. But yeah,
Yes.
I'm just putting it out there, folks. The thing is
Yeah.
could you? I always thought that these kind of rules that the government has are just stupid because who's going to own these things? Is it really enough of a threat? All right. So a rich guy goes nuts one day, right, and then blows things up. You know what? That rich guy today could go nuts and blow things up, right?
Yeah.
If he went nuts, there's nothing to actually prevent him from doing that. So what's the point? He's not going to sit up there and start setting up an artillery piece, right?
True, especially seeing as getting a nuke will be easier. But let's not talk about that because
Well,
people get twitchy.
a nuke is not as easy to get. First of all, a nuke is not easy to get. Number one. Number two is it's not easy to actually get the material for it, right? And then number
No.
three is the handling of that material is definitely very very difficult. All right. So, I mean, they simplify things in. I know a lot of people have read the encyclopedias on how the long boy and the little boy, or not the long boy and Fat Man were made, right? But what they don't tell anybody is what it takes to get to that point. It isn't what they think it is, right? It's not as easy to build an atomic weapon as you think it is. Otherwise, everyone would build one, right?
No, I agree, but to counter your point, okay, back during the 80s and early 90s when the Soviet Union became Russia, I heard this horrific rumor that basically their version of eBay, they were literally selling nukes. Is this true?
The story's true.
Oh God, I hoped you was
Um,
going to say no there. Okay.
the thing is all right. What they
Mhm.
don't tell anybody is if you let's say you bought a nuke in the 50s, right,
Yeah,
or in the 80s, we'll do the 80s. You've had
yeah,
30 years of decay.
yeah.
Okay, you've had 30 years of did you maintain that weapon system in its pristine condition? Not bloody likely. And the reason
No.
for it is because that people don't understand radiation damages electronics.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, and all these things need an electronic trigger to actually set something off. But radiation damages material physically. It damages steel. It damages everything. It degrades it all, including the explosive charge necessary to start the initial reaction.
Oh, here's something. This is something you'll probably know about, or at least down something more than me, which is quite funny. But if someone EMPs a nuke, does that mean the nuke won't work? Because I think that is the case. But I've been told yesterday that no, you could actually have a nuke work after it's been EMP'd. Is this true?
Both are true.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
I'll accept that.
There. First of all,
Mhm.
an EMP is an electromagnetic pulse. Okay.
Yes.
Now, when it comes to electronics,
Hmm.
EMPs can destroy electronics. Why?
Yes.
Or how? Because what it can do is it can set up an electrical field in the material, all right, that breaks things,
Hmm.
right? Shorts things out, shorts out the chips, shorts out the transistors, shorts out everything. Okay.
Yeah.
There are ways to harden against that. Okay. To prevent an
Hmm.
EMP from actually affecting you. Okay. Now
Yeah.
you can build many EMPs, right? The people have done
Hmm.
it, and they've destroyed people's cell phones and everything else.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
EMPs are
So,
not technically that hard.
well,
Technically.
to get it with any
Mhm.
kind of range or any kind of distance, you need a lot of. Once again, you need a lot of energy, right? And nuclear
Yeah.
weapons are great for energy. It's basically a ball of energy, right?
Yeah.
So that was a concern. But I will say this that is a concern that many of the nuclear scientists, right, that were working on the atomic weapons projects, right, had in mind, especially with the MIRVs, because if the MIRV isn't far enough away from another MIRV, it's very possible that it would actually prevent the detonation from taking place, right? So you do
Mhm.
things to mitigate that.
Yeah.
Okay, is it perfect? Is there a perfect world out there? No, right? There's a lot of things that a lot of theories. We've never actually fired a nuke, all right, at the enemy to know whether or not the Earth's magnetic field, all right, would somehow inadvertently impact it if you sent it over the North Pole.
Yeah.
Okay, now we've done simulations and tests that where we've thrown things over the North Pole, right? But we haven't thrown a nuke over the North Pole, right? Not a full blown nuke,
Yeah.
all right. So we think that we have that down, but the reality is it may be that when we fire rockets at one another, they all hit and go dud 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 dud.
That'd be funny though. But yeah.
All right, now that's unlikely. Let me put it this way: I wouldn't bet the farm on it. Okay, I'm not saying you take the chance that that's what's going to happen,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because the one thing we do know is that we can fire them from freaking shore, and we can fire them from subs, and fire them from planes, and they do work.
And
Okay.
in all fairness, okay, let's go with this as a concept. You lob your nuke at a city,
Mm-hmm.
and the nuke fails miserably. I mean, seriously, every single piece of electronics in it just doesn't bloody work. It's still a really, really heavy lump of metal that's landing on your city. That is going to cause a bit of a shock, let's be honest.
Well, let's say that it doesn't actually detonate the nuke, but it detonates. Well, you're going to have a problem.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just saying. So even if nukes don't work, it's probably going to shock the living hell out of the enemy when you start raining upon them with very large lumps of metal. Just saying.
Well, at that point, the enemy is raining lumps of metal back, just to let you know.
Yeah, but technically, and the really cool thing is, you could always grab what they're lobbing at you and launch them back if you're any good. Free ammo. What?
I don't think it works that way.
Let's try.
Okay, you've seen the movie. What is that stupid movie?
Yeah.
Where the United States and Russia, or the Soviet Union, right, get into a nuclear exchange
Yeah.
on the beach. Right, the movie name
Yeah.
of the movie is On the Beach. Right,
Yeah.
a nuclear exchange will not do that. Okay,
Eh?
a nuclear exchange will not kill all life on the planet.
No.
It won't. All right, it will not kill all humans on the planet.
Mhm.
That's not saying that it won't devastate the planet. That's not saying it's going to be a wonderland. All right, but it's not.
True.
But it's not going to do the on the beach where the entire oxygen supply is radiated and everyone's dying of radiation poisoning from radioactive oxygen. Okay,
No. Yeah, that's fair.
and the radiation. All right, there will be spots of radiation that are the areas that are deadly to human life for years. That's very true.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, but there will be plenty of areas where that's not the case. And what we've learned from Chernobyl is wildly radioactive as that area still is today. Right? And that's over and above what people think it is. All right, it's
One sec. One sec, mate. One sec. Matt, people turning green and large is called decay. Okay? And that's most people if they've been nuked. Just saying.
there's some interesting things that they found in Chernobyl, but one thing that we've learned about Chernobyl is that wildlife, all right, and so forth, recovered much quicker, all right,
Oh,
than
yeah.
we ever expected, and handles those conditions far better than we ever expected.
You see the bit about the arm length earthworms.
It,
That's cool.
there were
Enough
there were
explosions and we got June. I'm just saying.
the after effects of Chernobyl left mutations of animals, all right, newly born animals and everything, that were just horrific, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, those animals, of course, died very quickly, right?
Yeah.
The in general, all right, which you see when you see Siamese twins and you see all these other things that happen just in a natural environment. It's something similar, but on a larger scale, all right? But it didn't kill off all life, all right? And
Yeah.
you also saw genetic abnormalities in plants, all right? But those abnormalities were short-lived, okay? And a few years afterwards, they weren't seeing those abnormalities in that kind of to that degree anymore. Okay,
Yeah.
so you have populations, you have massive wildlife populations there that are just having a great old time. You got a wolf population that they can't believe, right? So
But
it's not saying
rumor,
I don't want people to misunderstand something. I'm not saying radioactivity is not dangerous. It is. I'm not saying that that Chernobyl is safe for humanity. It's not. Okay.
hmm I have heard rumor, and again, don't know if it's true, but apparently they've got absolutely huge, and I mean huge, wild pigs there. I don't know if that's true.
They do have a lot of feral pigs. Yes, it's very true.
hmm And they're like unnaturally large, as in like at least 50% again the size of your average pig. Now, I don't know
I
about
don't think
you.
that's that accurate. I think it's just their
Oh,
natural
thank God
size,
for that.
right?
I hope not.
But they're thriving.
Mhm.
Okay.
And the worst thing is they're irradiated, so you can't even cook them and eat them. Disgusting.
It's they are they do carry more radioactive material in them than what we deem as safe. Yes.
hmm
Right now, one thing that people tend to forget about is safe is a relative term. Okay, if you ate a pork chop with one of these things, would you die tomorrow? Probably not. Right?
No.
Would you die from cancer some 10, 15 years from now? Possibly. Not even probably, but possibly. Okay.
hmm
If you ate them for a week, would you have a problem? Quite probably. Okay. So, like I said, it's a relative term. Okay. And the, like the dirt, for example, the dirt has a lot of radioactive material in it. Right. This is something else that they learned is the trees. Some trees naturally absorb that material, and they become the trees themselves become wildly radioactive. Right. Right. And those are a danger. Coconuts, for example, they didn't realize this, but coconuts have a tendency of really liking the radioactive material, the radioactive isotopes, and so they tend to take them in. So coconut milk on like Bikini Island would
hmm
kill you.
Okay, now tell me you don't have the mental image of using coconuts as hand grenades.
It's, it's not a hand grenade.
As you do now, I bet.
The holy coconut hand grenade of Antioch. Huh?
Yes.
Let's get on to the next story, shall we?
Yes, please do. Before I go too crazy with
While we
my
get
ideas.
busy talking about all these ideas. Oh, we'll go over to the UK, shall we? All right. Only Cressida Dick, all right, could make this fiasco worse. She must quit, says ex-prosecution chief Nazir Afzal.
Yeah.
Dame Cressida Dick, all right, the commissioner of the Metropolitan Police, which I believe is Scotland Yard, correct?
Yes. Though
Okay.
specifically it's the Metropolitan Police, so technically she has no power anywhere apart from London.
Okay. All right, has a magical ability to make a bad situation worse. The point is proven yet
Yes.
again last week with an utterly inept response to the so-called Partygate inquiry at Downing Street. First, the Met
hmm
declined to investigate claims that the COVID laws, people that were making the COVID laws had broken them in flagrant terms. Then, at the last minute, Dame Cressida announced a change of heart, claiming that there may be evidence of lawbreaking after all, even though she hadn't started collecting evidence. She has muzzled Sue Gray's report for Parliament, saying, well, now, who's Sue Gray?
Hugh Gray is a person that she got to do a report on the parties, and that's why the government didn't want to speak about it until she'd done her report. And now the police are telling her to shut up about the report, so the government doesn't have to actually say anything until she gives the report, which she's not allowed to give because the police say so.
Saying it
Okay?
must only make minimal reference to the parties Ms. Gray is supposed to be investigating. Um,
hmm
okay. Do you
Go on.
realize look, I'm not I'm not defending anybody in this, right? and I do
Okay.
understand the, rules for thee but not for me kind of bullshit, right? And that these kind
Yeah.
of things are wrong. But
Hold
you're
it. I'm going to
talking
save,
about,
dude. I'm going to save a bit of time here. Okay. I can actually answer all of your questions by doing one thing. All right. Her name should be a subtle clue. She is literally Mrs. Dick. Do I need to actually go on, or does that explain everything?
well,
It's in the name. Shouldn't be any questions.
all right, all right, all right. With all due respect, you're treating parties taking place at number 10 Downing
Yep.
as if somebody robbed the crown jewels.
I know.
Okay? They had a party. You
All
are
right,
putting.
no, I
This is going
can't.
to. You're talking about removing a sitting prime minister for having a party at his house.
Yeah, I can actually explain that and not do this for stupid comment. Actually, the reason people are as pissed as they are is because these are the people that actually gave the rules that say no, you're not allowed to have parties, and then they went and had a party.
I
That
understand.
is what people are
Like I said, I
miffed
get that.
about.
I get the upsetness of the hypocrisy of this, right?
Yeah,
But the way you're treating this is if it's a major crime.
yeah, I know.
Okay,
Hmm.
this is like a guy saying, "Look, we're going to come down on people who are drinking and driving," and then gets in his car drunk and gets picked up by the cops.
Yeah.
Okay, what happens to those people? Nothing. They go to they get prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. What would happen to these each and every one of these people for having this party at 10 Downing? They would get what a 250-pound fine or $500 fine or something like that, right?
Yeah, probably about right.
Right. It's not like, let's be perfectly frank, it's not like these guys couldn't freaking afford it.
No,
Number one.
true.
Number two is what even if you gave them those fines, what difference would it make?
It's
I mean,
already happened,
you're
so yeah,
treating
no,
this
you're right.
like I said, you're treating this like some heinous act, right? Now,
Yeah.
I get the hypocrisy of this. I get this whole rules for thee and the damage that they did to everybody's lives because people lost their lives over this shit, right?
Oh
What I mean by
yes.
that is, I mean like their livelihoods and stuff, right? People have
Oh
lost
yes.
their homes. People have lost it. I understand that, okay, and I understand that the repercussions from that perspective. I'm not disagreeing that Boris Johnson shouldn't go, all right, and shouldn't be forced to resign. If Boris Johnson had an ounce of integrity, he would have resigned. Quite frankly,
Yep.
all right.
I actually agree with that.
I'm not gonna pull this. And he's still above Trudeau. Anyway, and he's still better than Trudeau. And this is the sad part, right? Because
Yeah.
Trudeau's done all that,
Yeah.
and he runs and hides.
No, 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 no. Say it properly. He's done all that, and has worn blackface, and his wife has handed out cotton to black kids to remind them
No, no,
of the
no, no,
past,
no, no, no,
and
no.
he runs the night.
That was not Trudeau who did that.
Oh, it was.
That was
I thought it was. Okay.
all right. Trudeau did wear blackface. That's very true. But
Yeah.
Trudeau did not.
Okay.
That Trudeau did not sit up there, and his wife did not hand out cotton balls. That was the governor of
All
Virginia,
right. Okay.
who also wore blackface.
All right.
Right, or the previous governor, I should say, of Virginia. All right, so
Oh, okay.
the
Well,
former
in that
governor.
case, I take that back. Maybe Trudeau has got a whole 1% of credibility then. Maybe.
A leader does not sit up there and run and hide from a bunch of protesters. Let me rephrase this. A prime minister doesn't run and hide from a bunch of Canadian protesters. Okay, nobody runs. 5-year-olds don't run and hide from Canadian protesters. All right.
We're sorry. Yeah.
I'm sorry. All right. Am I taking the Mickey out of the Canadians? Yes, I am.
Yeah.
Right? Just putting it out there. All right. But I cannot believe the kind of you're talking about getting the quote unquote person in charge of Scotland Yard, and this person, because they're not writing a damning report, because the idiots in number 10 Downing had a party while telling everybody else that they couldn't have parties, right? Had a party.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just and this is supposed to be understandable.
Yeah. Kinda.
Let me ask a question.
Yeah.
Perfectly legitimate question.
Mm-hmm.
How many of you, and I mean you Londoners, like you,
Yeah.
right, followed the rules and didn't have a party when you had a chance?
Oh no.
Right?
Sorry, they came up with all these rules, and our entire reaction was, for the first week, we did what we was told. On the second week, we went, screw this. On the third week, we totally and utterly ignored it.
Okay,
Okay?
okay. This is like, I hate to say this, but in the United States, you have state laws when a person is allowed to consume alcohol, right?
Yeah.
And in the vast majority of the states, I'm not sure if it's all of them, but in the vast majority, it's now 21, right?
Huh?
Even before it was 21, it used to be 18 in the states, right?
Okay.
Yet 16-year-olds were having parties drinking beer. Was it illegal?
Yes.
Yes. Did it happen all the time? Yes. All right. Is
Yeah.
it illegal in the United States to purchase and smoke Cuban cigars? It was. Did it happen in the White House all the time? Yes.
Yes.
Right. In fact, you can talk to Billy Boy about that. Bill Clinton.
Yeah, I was going to say, but I think Bill Clinton's famous for something involving a cigar. I can't remember what, though.
All right. So I'm just putting it out there, folks. You guys are making a mountain out of a molehill here.
Yeah, but the British are really good at doing that. And then, after we've absolutely had an absolute fit at this, we literally just go, and carry on anyway.
This is why God took Sam Kinison away early. Because Sam Kinison would have had an apoplectic fit over this stuff.
It would, wouldn't he? Oh, yeah. Oh, could you imagine his response to Trudeau? I mean, that's... He'd never be allowed in the country again.
I might
would
actually
he?
come up with a skit that's very Kinison-esque about some of this stuff going on. Just to do it one day
Blame ya.
on one of these shows. All right.
Yeah.
Since we're talking about what you guys make mountains out of molehills with, right?
Mhm.
This is not necessarily a mountain out of a molehill, but I want to discuss this, and I'm going to make a lot of people mad, right?
Hmm.
Northern Ireland marks Bloody Sunday amid Brexit backdrop. Okay, the Northern Irish city of Londonderry commemorates one of the darkest days in modern UK history on Sunday when 50 years ago, that's modern, 50 years ago, right, British troopers opened fire without provocation on civil rights protesters. Now, I want you to remember the way they wrote this, without provocation. The anniversary of Bloody Sunday comes with Northern Ireland's fragile peace destabilized by Brexit and with families of the victims despondent over whether the soldiers involved will ever face trial. If it was 50 years ago, you're expecting trial now. These people are in their 70s.
Most of the day.
just late 60s to 70s, possibly even the 80s. And you're expecting them to have trial. Charlie Nash saw his 19-year-old cousin, William Nash, killed by one of the more than 100 high-velocity rounds fired by members of the British Parachute Regiment on January 30th, 1972. We thought there might be rioting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so they showed up for a riot. Okay? These people showed up intending to riot.
You forget, Nomad, but riots are mostly peaceful nowadays.
All right. Open fire without provocation when the protesters showed up to riot. Okay? We thought there might be rioting,
it, aren't you?
but nothing like what happened. At first we thought they were rubber bullets. Guess you was wrong. All right. But then we saw Hugh Gilmore, all right, one of 6 17-year-old victims, lying dead. We couldn't take it in. Everyone was running. Okay. How is that any different than any of the rest of the rioting that was going on?
Yep.
It's important for the rest of the world to see what they've done to us that day. All right? Will we ever see justice? Never. Especially not from Boris Johnson. Okay, now that part is probably accurate.
Yeah.
All right? I'll be honest. That part's accurate.
Dude, I just done checking up. Would you actually like to know how many people died in Bloody Sunday?
How many people?
Ready? Are you ready for this?
Yes.
It was huge. It was a massacre. 13 people were shot dead and a 14th fatally wounded.
But
what was you saying about car crashes having more people dying?
Well, we only had 9. I mean, right here. I mean, involved in that speeding car crash. Now, this is kind of an interesting story, too. I mean, 9 people died in a vehicle crash, 6 vehicle crash on Saturday afternoon, all right, in North Las Vegas. All right, North Las Vegas Police Department spokesman Alexander Curvacious, all right, said officers responded just after 3 p.m. to a crash on Cheyenne Avenue and Commerce Street. A total of 15 people were involved in the collision. One person was in critical condition at the University Medical Center as of 11 p.m. Curvacious said one person was transported to the hospital but later died. Okay, if 14 people were killed, and it says 13 protesters died, and 100 bullets were fired.
Yeah.
This doesn't sound like you guys are real accurate.
In all fairness, they weren't necessarily shooting to kill. Like you said, 100 bullets fired, we should have got a damn sight more than that. But, I just want to point out that 14 people died. More die in Chicago over most weekends.
Yes.
That should be a kind of subtle clue to how bad a certain person you intend to talk about a little bit later is involved.
You're not wrong. All right. The thing is the thing that gets me irritated about these kind of stories is the fact that they start with the fact, it was unprovoked. It was unprovoked. The people were there to riot.
Yeah.
All right. The guy even admitted that they were there to riot.
Yeah.
He went there with the idea, we thought there might be some rioting. No, you went there to riot. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
You're not going there to say, let's see what happened. You knew very well what was going to happen. There was going to be a riot.
Mm-hmm.
And there's only so much that you're going to tolerate of this kind of rioting before people say enough is enough. And you're not going to walk out with your freaking flower in your hand, right? A la 1960s, they put a little flower child down the barrels of the National Guard guns.
Mm.
Okay? You're not going to stop these idiots from rioting.
Nah.
Any other way. Now, you can argue about this. You can say this shouldn't happen. Why shouldn't it happen? If you got a bunch of people who are going to sit up there and ignore the rule of law and riot all the time, how are you going to stop them? How is it you're going to stop them? I'm not discounting the fact that people died here. But when you go into a riot situation, don't go to riot.
Yeah. You're saying about how badly we done only killing off 14. You didn't do too well with Penn State. You only managed to kill 4 of them. Just saying. Okay? Yeah, just mention it. And yours is a country that really enjoys its guns. You only managed to do 4.
That's because most of them were firing straight up in the air.
That may well have been happening with the paratroopers. And I will take the mickey out of paratroopers all the time, but they have a much better accuracy than...
I know they do.
Yeah.
But that's my point as well. Right? If they really wanted to put damage done, there'd be a lot more people than that dead.
Yeah.
Although they did pretty good for just 100 rounds being fired. I mean... Right, but it depends on the crowd, and it depends on the several things. Right, and it's not that the British are known for when crowds are throwing rocks and shit. Right, this is the thing that tell me. You tell me it was unprovoked. Prove it. When people are there to riot, you tell me it was unprovoked. I bet money somebody threw something at somebody when that kicked off.
You don't use the and this is going to get a bad reaction from the rest of my family, but you don't use the word unprovoked when you're talking about the Irish in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. Okay, there is no. No, dude, I'm not wrong. Okay. You see 2 people walking down the street, there's a 70% that either or and both of them are there to cause trouble. You know it and I know it.
I mean, there was more than just 2 people, granted. This was a crowd, but you really don't like the Irish, do you?
British Army, what do you expect?
I mean... I find it unusual because, the United States doesn't look at it that way, but that's...
You lot were sending them bloody weapons. Don't start me on that one.
Sending them weapons.
Yes, you was.
No, we weren't.
Yes, you was.
No, we weren't.
You were giving them... Oh, so the M16s they had magically appeared by the M16 fairies. Okay, no problem.
The M16s that they had, they bought.
From Americans.
Well, they
with money given to them.
They bought them from people. I mean, there's nothing wrong with buying weapons.
No, but they were given the money to buy these weapons by the Americans. You were giving them bloody weapons.
That's an accurate statement that we were giving them money. That there was money from America flowing into those coffers. That was not from the American government, however. There were just individual American citizens on their own handing out wads of cash.
I hope you can picture me raising my eyebrow at your statement. Okay? I seem to remember hearing, and I'm willing to be wrong, but I don't think I am, that the Kennedys actually freely admitted that they were sending money to the IRA. The Kennedys, for God's sake.
But they weren't sending U.S. funds. They were sending their own wealth. They were rich people.
Okay. Okay.
Just because they were the family had people in it that was from the government and and so forth doesn't mean that they were sending government money.
And this was happening while JFK was in charge as well. Just saying,
I'm just putting it out there that there's a difference between private money and government money and taxpayer money. Now, I realize that Democrats sometimes have a problem distinguishing between the two.
Mm-hmm.
I will freely admit that's an accurate assessment. But that wasn't the case in the Kennedys.
Again, I'm not certain if this is true, but I have heard that when W. Bush turned around and said we're doing a war on terror, there was actually a moment of, oh crap, as America suddenly realised it couldn't give money over to IRA. Now, I don't know if this is true, but this is something I've heard.
There were people that were upset that the war on terror included stopping the funding of members of the IRA. That is very true. But not from the government.
You're sticking with that, aren't you? That's going to be the thing that's going to be a hill you're dying on. All right. Okay.
you gotta understand America. America is, look. Did it stop people from sending freaking money, private monies, donated money to Al Akbab over there in ISIS land?
Yes.
No.
Okay.
Do you still have CARE as an operation? Council for American Arab Relations, right? Right? Does that still operate in America? Unfortunately, yes. Should it? No, but that's not the point. Okay.
Yeah. Just want to say, yeah. Carry on. I'm not going to. I'm going to try not to pick any more arguments.
I don't really think it was an argument.
Try.
I'm just trying to explain the difference because you guys, once again, this is something that most Europeans don't understand. America is not America is not a homogenous nation.
No, I agree, but what you was using there, sir, was sophistry, and you know it.
No, because there's an important dividing line between American government funding and private funding.
How about funding?
There's a huge chasm there. It's not sophistry.
No, okay. How about money that was sent by private citizens that was then taken back out of the government money by the Kennedys? Anything?
If you're going to go down that road, we have that happening with every freaking Democrat in the country right now, because that's exactly what a lot of these government-funded unions are doing.
Well, no, I am not disagreeing with you at all with that. That is true.
But it still comes down to private money versus non-private money. And now, you got to remember the Kennedys didn't need government funding for their activities with the IRA. Okay.
No.
And I am not going to deny that the Kennedys and especially certain very wealthy individuals, right, within the Massachusetts, especially Boston and New York communities, right, did a lot of damage by their activities with the IRA. I'm not defending that. Okay? But that's not America. Okay?
No, it's just your ruling elite.
But it's not America.
Yeah.
All right? And I think people have to understand that. There are pockets of this kind of stuff. All right, within the United States. Yes, there are pockets that are freaking of Americans, all right, that are funding MS-13 today.
Yeah.
Okay? And MS-13 is a heinous organization. There are pockets here in Arizona that are funding and sending money and literally weapons, all right, to the Sinaloa cartel, which is murdering journalists and everything else down in Mexico.
I'm not going to say that that's money well spent. I'm not going to say that's money well spent.
I'm just putting it out there, right? But the problem becomes a scandal when the government's involved in it, or it should become a scandal when the government's involved in it, unless of course you're a Democrat, in which case we'll cover it up. Eric Holder, anybody? Oh, Barack Obama, Barack Hussein Obama. That was for memes. In case memes is
Oh yeah.
Memes hates it when I do that.
I know. Brilliant.
All right. And I'm not saying that what happened on Bloody Sunday, right, was sweetness and light. Okay.
Yeah.
But I really think people forget the reaction to these things, or what their view of the world. All right, the world view that says, "Oh, this kind of stuff can't happen. This kind of stuff shouldn't happen." You're not looking at history,
Yeah.
right? Because not only am I saying this kind of stuff happens, this kind of stuff should happen, and the reason it should happen is because there's a difference between protesting and rioting. There's a difference between a peaceful protest and burning houses and burning apartments and burning freaking businesses and throwing Molotov cocktails. And once you go down the Molotov cocktail lane, as far as I'm concerned, they should sit up there and kill every freaking one of you that they see. Because you're now the enemy.
Yep.
That's
Which was basically what we did.
That's how the military... I'm sorry, go ahead, Jenson.
I was saying that is basically what we did with the Bloody Sunday affair. Okay, we did what you're saying right there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like I said, unlike us other people, I'm not saying it's sweetness and light, but you weren't going. You had declared yourself as an enemy and were taking actions. Right. The only difference was a power differential. Right, because you chose to go up against modern weaponry with sticks and stones.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look at the name. Okay, Irish Republican. Now, what does the A stand for again? Army.
Yeah.
What is it that you generally do when it comes to enemy armies? You kill them. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I'm not wrong. You're not wrong. Right.
I thought not.
I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not. Look, I know people don't like to hear this, but this is when you've got a guerrilla action taking place. All right, and these people are part of those guerrilla actions, which is exactly what this was. These are the things that have to happen in order to put those kind of things down.
Yep.
I'm not justifying. I'm not saying things are sweetness and light. The world isn't sweetness and light. People better get off this attitude of everything just being perfect.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that's going to make people mad. There's a lot more things that will make people mad about as we go on through this. I've got a lot of takes on this kind of shit. But the thing is okay, you went to riot. A riot broke out. They opened fire and you almost died. And you saw some friends of yours died. I guess you shouldn't have gone for the riot. When you talk about sophistry is saying, well, no, I was just there to protest, and yeah, I knew that there could be riots, but I wasn't there to riot. That's sophistry.
Yep.
That is sophistry, my friend. Just pointing it out. Am I unabashedly American? Yes. Am I harsh? Possibly. Right? Is there a better way to have handled this? There's a lot of better ways to have handled this. The world was changing. Okay? Now, you can say that the world didn't change without some of this stuff because this stuff took place. That's very true. Okay?
Yep.
But we don't know. All these people want to sit up there and sing Kumbaya and give peace a chance. Did they give peace a chance here? When they started rioting, were they giving peace a chance?
No.
Friggin' hippies. Just putting it out there.
Worse than hippies, dude. They were Irish hippies.
So what you're trying to tell me after making these kind of comments is that you witnessed what happened at Kent State and the British said, hold my beer.
Yeah. Actually, I mean, I can sit here and deny it, but pretty much, yeah. Is that all you got? That's how you do it, yeah.
There is something, let's talk about Kent State for a moment. Right. No, seriously.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Many people don't understand America back then. Right? People who talk about Kent State today are lying about Kent State in a lot of ways, right? Or shouldn't say lying, mischaracterizing what happened, right? And there's one thing that's still very, very true to this day, the National Guardsmen, right, that were on that one side, and those freaking hippies on the other side, right? In a lot of ways, people don't understand this. This was a culture clash. And what you had was a bunch of freaking rich, freaking snotty hippies on one side throwing rocks at a bunch of freaking poor kids with guns.
Huh?
All right? And as far as Kent State goes, they're lucky it wasn't me, because none of them would have gotten out of there. If I was in charge of that group, none of them would have gotten out. And it wouldn't have been 4 dead and the 15-year-old girl crying that looked like she was 18, but the 15-year-old who never should be on a college campus, all right, to begin with, because she was being freaking. Quite frankly, if that 15-year-old today, if that situation happened today, the first question would be asked is who is statutorily raping her.
Yep.
All right. But if you want to sit up there and talk about the way what could have went down there, right? All they did is put down the riot. And this was not a peaceful place. These people, all right, were going after the National Guardsmen who were there because they had gotten done burning an ROTC building the day before. This was not peaceful in any stretch of the imagination. And for people to sit up there and mischaracterize what that was, plus, like I said, what you had, the people that were doing the burning and the looting were a bunch of freaking rich hippies that were in college. The ones that couldn't afford to go to college ended up in the National Guard or in the military. All right, and those were the guys on the other side, and they started pelting you with rocks. If you expected something different, I contend to this day, the fact that only 4 people died, right, shows massive amounts of discipline on the side of the military. Because they should have wiped them all out. There should be 60 people dead and 100 or 200 injured, right, and the rest of them crying in jail, right, languishing in a freaking the Hotel Hilton. Or the Hanoi Hilton, rather.
Yeah.
Because that's exactly what I would have done with them all. I would have sit up there and put them all on a freaking plane and send them over to La La Land so they could sit up there and live with their freaking their comrades over there in North Vietnam. Just saying.
I agree with you.
On to the next story. Lamborghini bids farewell to pure combustion cars this year. The Volkswagen AG brand, with a track-focused Aviator, Huracan, and Urus, all right, SUV models, will unveil its first production car with a plug next year before electrifying its full offering by 2024 this year. For this year, Lamborghini has almost sold out of its entire production run following record deliveries during 2021, according to the Chief Executive Officer, Stefan Winkelmann. That's an odd name. All right. It will be the last time we offer only combustion engines, Winkelmann said. In an interview, the car maker has seen a very good start to 2022, he said. Lamborghini has allocated a record 1.5 billion euros for the shift to plug-in hybrids and plans to offer purely battery-powered models during the second half of the decade. All right, while supercar brands like Ferrari, NV, and Aston Martin, I'm not even going to try to pronounce that, Global Holdings PLC, faced with a especially delicate task of preserving brand identity in costly shift to electrification, Lamborghini's future plans are underpinned by Volkswagen's record spending on new technology. Did Volkswagen bought Lamborghini?
Yeah.
When did Volkswagen buy Lamborghini?
I think like 90s. End of the 90s, I think. But here's the thing to think about, okay? You realise that basically they're making Lamborghini Prius. Just saying, okay? That is basically what we're talking about here. Lamborghini Prius. Could you possibly be more humiliated than that?
He's not wrong. It is Lamborghini Prius. All right. I mean, all right. First of all, I don't. If Lamborghini wants to do that, fine. Okay. But the question I have is not the same question you have. The question I have is there's a line in that story that I saw that makes me go, say what? And that's not that they're going stupid, green. It's not that Lamborghini goes green. To be honest, don't give a shit. Okay? What the line that caught me was, we shipped everything and it's already been delivered. Really? How is that possible when we got all these stupid cargo ships parked off the coastline, still can't get shit in, all right, to deliver to American shells?
Yeah, good question.
Can somebody tell me the Lamborghinis got right on through? They didn't have any shipping problems? But if we're going to ship food somewhere, it's going to languish off the coast so we get rotten freaking tomatoes?
Worrying, isn't it?
Does it make you wonder? Do you think maybe there's something here that we're not being told?
Andy's actually got it sorted. The other people used FedEx. That's what it was. He's completely right. I am totally okay with that.
I must admit, one of the best FedEx commercials I ever saw, right? It was one of the Super Bowl commercials, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where they got this caveman, and he's told to go send this package, right? And he shows this, stone tablet on a, and gives it to the pterodactyl. The pterodactyl gets, T-Rex comes and eats the pterodactyl. And he comes back and he tells the guy, the message didn't make it. It goes, did you use FedEx? The guy looks at me and goes, no. Said, you're fired. Said, there is no FedEx. The guy looks at me, not my problem. Goes back to just leave the I mean, that was one of the best FedEx commercials.
I'm okay with that one. By the way, I've just got the mental image of Amazon drones delivering Lamborghini Priuses now. Just pointing this out. And no, I'm not going to call them anything but Lamborghini
Your
Prius.
Lamborghini Prius is being delivered.
Yeah. Catch, bitch. Yeah.
Oh, shoot, didn't open on that one. Some assembly required. I'm sorry. You shouldn't have done that.
Some assembly required. Are you telling me that IKEA are now doing Prius? Oh God, that's a horrifying thought.
Don't make suggestions, Jenson. Don't give me those suggestions.
Yeah, I believe they would. That's the disturbing thing.
Well, I'll be honest with you. I mean, that's how cars should be shipped, to be honest. You should get a crate. You should be able to
drop it on people.
You should get a crate. All right. The only problem with it is the weight of an engine, right? If it wasn't for the weight of an engine, everything should be assembly. Get people they want a freaking vehicle, put it together themselves. Here's your crate. Here's your. I mean, because back in the day, like with the Model Ts, you could do it.
True. Hell, the original Jeeps that you could actually repair with everything that I had in the repair kit could fix anything that weren't involving tank shells blowing the Jeep up.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the Jeeps were an interesting thing. Those things, people don't realize that Jeeps were. They see them all in the movies. You know what they don't show you in the movies, right? The idiots driving them. You never see the idiot rolling Jeeps. Not because he had to, but because he was just driving like an idiot. Jeeps were high centered, right? And if you took a corner too fast, and you could, you rolled that son of a bitch, right?
I heard that they basically had practically no suspension, and they would rattle the living hell out of your bones.
Well, yeah, but you weren't worried about that on a battlefield because, you know.
This is fair, yeah.
On a battlefield, you're trying to avoid the shells coming in, and you're like, you know what?
Yeah.
I'm not going to care about the rattled bones.
Hold it, Nomad. Are you saying that they didn't have Lamborghini Prius as Jeeps? Oh, disgusting.
Sorry. Oh. Just putting it out there, folks. Just putting it out there.
Andy just said that houses used to be like that from Sears catalogue.
Yeah, no, they could do that.
Wow.
Pretty close like that. Yeah, we had a lot of things that was assembly. Let's go on to the next story. Off to the movie industry, folks.
Yay!
I bet you never saw this one coming. Sharp Stick, right? Shows that porn can be really healing, says Lena Dunham. Lena Dunham's Sharp Stick shows the porn industry in a rare positive light. She says it was 100% intentional. I think many of us were, especially people who started maybe like reading second wave feminist literature early, were shaped by the kind of feminism that maybe didn't give porn its due as something that can be really healing for people. I'm not going on with this. I'm not going to continue reading this stupid shit.
No. I just have to point out one thing, okay? They're not talking about nurses in nurses' outfits doing porn. Though that would be really healing for anybody. I don't care what you say.
Jenson, you're not helping matters. You're really not helping the situation.
Dude, I got depressed when I woke up from the heart attack and they weren't wearing nurses' outfits. They were wearing scrubs. That depressed the living hell out of me, okay?
You wanted a cute little skirt, right?
Oh, hell yeah.
And you wanted the nurse Candy to be bent over, right?
Again, it would have been healing.
You sure it would have been healing and not finishing the job? I mean, just putting it out there, dude.
I'm in a win-win.
If you're gonna go, you might go big or go home. Is that what you're saying, Jensen?
Look, okay, what I'm about to say may get a lot of people in trouble, but I don't care. Let's be fair, okay? If you're going to die, are you telling me you don't want to see a nurse in a seriously sexy nurse's outfit as your final image as you die? Yes, you damn well do. Just saying.
I'm not saying that I wouldn't appreciate the form, but I'll be honest with you. I probably wouldn't even notice it necessarily as much as other people would, right? Unless she's in the middle of the service, you know, fan service. I'm just putting it out there, right?
Yeah.
Just
so
put it out
in
there.
all fairness, this whole porn thing could get a whole lot more disturbing if they then start talking about the nurses, pulling out your catheter. Because that is a mental image you never need.
All right, Lena Dunham is a loon. All right?
Okay.
She's a depraved individual, in my opinion. Okay? If I'm not mistaken, it was her that wrote the story that she talks about how she sat up there and more or less freaking raped her younger sister when she was in her teens. Right?
Wow.
And and you talk. She talks like this dumb shit, right? And the first thing is she's mentioning porn and feminist literature. Okay, now I don't think Lena Dunham appreciates what feminism, especially the second wave feminism, the ones that, not the ones that we're talking about, voting rights, but the, broad burning bimbos from the hippies generation.
Yep.
What that generation was all about.
Mm-hmm.
Because that generation was all about ugly feminists, all right, getting access to the hunks.
Mm-hmm.
Because they weren't the only ones who were sluts then. If they could convince the good-looking girls to be sluts, then everyone's a slut, and we'll all get sex. That was the mentality of these idiots. And for people like Gloria Steinem and the rest of them, that was their intent. Before it became Marxism uber alles.
Mm-hmm.
It was really always about Marxism uber alles, but they were hiding it back then when it first started off.
Oh, yeah.
Right? But Lena Dunham is exactly what these people come back. She's a pervert, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. She is a pervert. She's always been depraved, and you're seeing it now. There are people who commented on this and said that her career in Hollywood is over. Her career in Hollywood should have been over as soon as you saw her try to act, because she can't act. Lena Dunham is not a good actress either. She's not the worst actress in the world, but she's not. Lena Dunham is not someone that's going to make you forget about Audrey Hepburn, or Katharine Hepburn, or even Angelina Jolie for that matter. All right, Angelina Jolie is actually a better actress than people give her credit for, but she of course is typecast, right? Which happens to actresses and actresses, right? But let's be honest, most people do not go to see a movie, all right, with her in it, right? Because they think that, oh, wow, let's see how well she acts in this one. No, they're going there to see those freaking pouty lips, right?
Yeah.
Lena Dunham,
it's true.
You're not even going out to see the movie. Right? Now that she mentioned porn, I will venture to say that her whole thing here, her whole stick here, is to sell this because it's porn. She's trying to get porn notoriety so that people go, oh, is this a porn movie? Let me go see some kind of porno thing that people are talking about, But that's all passé.
Yeah.
She probably would have gotten all sorts of views 20 years ago. But today, in today's society, you're not drumming up anything for that. You're not standing out from the crowd. All you are is proving that you're a freaking degenerate.
Right?
The days of Ellen shocking people, those days are long past. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah.
It's just my opinion, folks. I mean, you don't have to listen to it. Since we're talking about movies, we'll go on to Jenson's favorite story. Sundance. Disney focuses its searchlight on horror cannibalism with charmer who cuts up dates and eats them.
It's not saying
so Disney is now trying to
make sure.
Disney is now trying to cut in on somehow they're missing the cannibalism market. We know that there's cannibals out there. We need them to the movies. All right, we need to draw these cannibals into the movies. You will become a vegetarian after watching Fresh, or I should say Flesh. This is a horror movie that is pretty disgusting and not terribly clever, but it is one that Disney, yes, Disney, will release this year. Premiering at the Sundance Film Festival, Mimi Cave's Fresh is a movie about cannibalism. Yes, cannibalism. The eating of people. Yes, Disney is not a parody or a satire like Get Out, or it's a straight up horror film about a charming doctor, or it's a straight up horror film about a charming doctor played by Sebastian Stan who seduces women, kidnaps them, carves out pieces of them for sale to high paying customers. Eventually, they're all carved up and dead.
And this is the problem. Why? What?
Were you avoiding watching movies at some point, Jensen, so that they felt that, that there was a huge amount of cash that they were missing of your cash that they were missing out on? Is that what happened? You called up Disney and said, "Hey, you just don't realize the number of my buddies that would go to see a cannibalism movie."
I just wanted Donald Duck to get involved in cannibalism. That's what it was. Now get that mental image out of your head. Go on.
Do you think Disney's getting back to its roots? Is that what you think's happening here? Were these Jewish women? Anyway.
Oh, harsh but fair.
If in case you were wondering what I'm referencing, I'm talking about the quote-unquote anti-Semitism of reportedly anti-Semitism of Walt Disney.
Yeah.
Right. Now, for those who don't know anything about Walt Disney, there are a lot of terms attributed to Walt Disney. And there is a factual basis to all that. Okay? The guy was an anti-Semite. Now, when I say that, I put a caveat to it in one regard. Okay? And that is Walt Disney blamed Jews and Judaism, all right, for Marxism, for communism. Okay? So I'm not justifying this. Please don't misunderstand me. I want people to understand though what this all came about, how all this came about, what it's all referenced and what it's all part of. All right. And the reason he was upset with Marxism, all right, was because they unionized. Right? When Disney Studios was just coming into being, and it started to make these films and was starting to grow like gangbusters. A lot of the creative talent, the drawers, the artists, and everything that he had, decided to unionize.
Yep.
Right? Now, Disney looked upon unions as a communism, as the same as a communist plot. Right? That's how he viewed them. And he walked into, prior to them having the vote to unionize, he walked in and said, look, I'll agree to every term that you guys have right now. Every single one of them. Just don't unionize. Because he felt it was anti-American and he felt it was communists. And they decided to go, okay, we're going to unionize anyway. And when they unionized, a lot of the people were upset because as soon as they unionized, Disney transitioned from you're working for Walt Disney to you're working for the Disney Corporation. He transitioned it all. That's when he put in time clocks. That's when he put in, where people had to clock in, clock out, and everything else, and he ran it like a shop. Now, they still were able to put out, the Golden Age films, Snow White, Cinderella, all that other stuff, right? Fantasia. Yeah. I don't know when Fantasia actually came out, when it was actually produced. But they're still able to do all that stuff, right? But the reason that when they unionized, it broke the trust that Disney had in his fellow creators. Okay? It's not a justification. It's an explanation of the man. All right? I'm not gonna. The guy can stand and live on his own. He lives on his own merits and his own infamy. All right.
Yeah.
I can't add or detract from that. Okay. I don't have a negative attitude toward Disney like some people have on everything that he did, though, right? Because whether you like it or not, Disney did build Disneyland, right?
Yeah.
Disney did go out there and try to do things to help children. Okay, unlike a lot of these psychopathic detractors of his, right, where they talk about how all they ever do is talk about how evil he is and how and all the bad that he did in the world. Well, okay, yeah, I'm not going to deny some of the things that he did were, like I said, time clocks, right? I'll be honest with you, time clocks are freaking, that's just that you're telling your people you don't trust them when you put a time clock in.
Oh,
Right?
yeah.
That's what you're doing, right? And and that transition and from the corporate standpoint. But at that point, you can complain about it if you want, but at the same time, you know what? You guys did it to yourselves.
Yeah.
With all due respect, you did it to yourselves. You may not like Disney, right? Or you may think Disney is the greatest guy since sliced bread. I don't care, right? But he was a man. He was a man of many different aspects. He was not a 2D caricature like we of a person. Not good, not bad. He was a man. He was a human being. Nobody out there is perfect. And there's this expectation of perfection that drives me crazy with people. Especially with somebody like Walt Disney, because they love to hate on Disney. Yeah, let's be honest. And not just the Disney Corporation, which has a lot to hate about it. Or dislike about it, I should say. I shouldn't say hate, but
Yeah.
dislike about it.
Hold it. Carl has just said something, and this is highly entertaining. Disney California is called Mauschwitz, and Disney Florida is Duckow. If that's true, that's hilarious. I really actually hope it's true. I want that to be the case because that is funny as hell to me.
I don't think that's quite accurate. But Carl, that's good.
Oh, please let it be real. That would be so cool.
I gotta admit that was pretty good. That was really good. But the thing is like I said, what I want to put out is there's very few people are 2D caricatures, right? They're, whether they're mustache twirling villains, right, or they're the knight on shining armor, right? Most people, the vast majority of us are somewhere in between, right? The vast majority of us. Now, that being said, those outliers do exist. Okay? The mustache twirling villain that's nothing but evil, those people exist. Okay? The heroic paladin that never does anything wrong, right? As far as, for the most part, that tries to do his best at all times and would be the hero of any story, let alone his own. Those people exist too. They are rare.
Huh?
Right? And it's always easier to reform a villain. All right? I'm sorry. It's
Twist a good guy than reform a bad guy. What you're saying?
yeah. People want
Yeah.
to see the good guy fall. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Right. People also want to reform a villain. Right. They always look for the good in people. Right. But by the same token, the guy that's too perfect, the guy that's too good, they'll try to do everything they can to tear him down.
Yeah.
Right. That's the nature of the beast. That's the nature of the world we live in. Right. Because one of the things that's very discomforting about the really good guy is that person is a mirror of what you are of yourself and all the failings you have. This is why people are uncomfortable about people that are too good. Yeah. Because when somebody's too good because you can't achieve that. You haven't achieved that standard because of your own personal failings, and it irritates you. And many people lash out in that regard rather than look at themselves and say, I can be better. I can emulate that. There are people that are principled, people that stick to their principles. Right?
Yeah.
There is a story by I'm trying to remember who this historian is, right? Talking about Augustus Caesar, right?
Hmm.
And Augustus Caesar came upon one of the sons he had adopted, right? Right.
Eh?
And he saw him reading Cicero, right? Now, for those who
Eh?
don't know, Cicero was someone that Augustus Caesar killed or had killed, not personally killed, but was against Augustus Caesar. Okay, just so you
Yeah.
understand, right? Who Cicero was? Cicero was he was hardly a perfect person, but Cicero was a true. He wanted the Senate. He did not believe in a dictatorship. He believed in the Senate, right? The power of the Senate. And his adopted son was terrified that Augustus had caught him reading a work from Cicero, right? And Augustus's only comment is that he was, he was a man to be. I don't know about admired, right? I don't know if the word is admired, but he was a man of outstanding character in a way, right? And that's
Eh?
the difference, right? Augustus Caesar knew, all right, that the people he was fighting, he didn't hate them with the passion of how dare they go against me and hold on to that. Don't get me wrong, that's a natural reaction of everybody, right? But he could step back and say this guy was fighting on his principles. He still had to die.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. But his principles in another time in another setting would have been fine. The problem is that's not the time and setting that it existed anymore, right? And this was part of the issues. Now, Cicero himself, for those who don't know, I mean, Cicero was hardly a non-corruptible human being, right? I want people to understand this, right?
Are you saying he wasn't a paladin you was talking about earlier?
No, he was not a paladin. Right? He wasn't. A lot of the tactics used by Cicero to get his clients off
Yeah.
were when I say clients, I'm like Cicero is the epitome of a lawyer, a good one. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
does that make sense to you?
You might want to change good to efficient, because after all, good is not necessarily the right term. Or at least his clients weren't good. Let's just put it that way.
Well, the tactics he used were
Effective.
they were intended not to talk about the facts of a case, all right, but would lean heavily on the emotions, right?
Yeah.
And he would throw out outlandish claims, and he got some very wealthy or very well known or notorious, I guess is the best way to say it at the time. All right, clients. He got them off. He succeeded. So when I say good, I mean from a clientele perspective, he's the best man for the job. But he was a lawyer, all right? With all the failings of a lawyer, with one exception, and that was his belief in republicanism over the everything else, and he believed in the republic, and he wanted the return of the power of the Senate. He did not believe in the dictatorship, and the Caesars, Julius Caesar broke the power of the Senate, all right, and the mop up was done by Augustus.
Yeah.
Okay, but the Senate itself was corrupt. You have to understand that.
You're saying something created by humans was corrupt?
Well, no, the
No.
Senate. Once again, an institution isn't corrupt. The people are corrupt. The people of
Yeah.
the Senate and the Senate were all so corrupt that you had to do away with them. Well, if you do away with all the people in the Senate, you don't have a Senate anymore, right?
Mm-hmm.
There you go. Does that make sense?
How
It is.
does it just sort of the question is, does that mean that the Senate was corrupt? If all the people in the Senate were corrupt, doesn't that mean that the Senate was corrupt?
In and of itself, I don't know. I don't. That's a good question. I don't know. The idea, the idea of the institution, maybe not, but the Senate itself, yeah. I guess we're dealing with that today. So,
Matt is making a really bad joke about Caesar.
what's he saying?
He also made a really great salad. Go and stand in a corner and think about what you've just done. Okay, just go. Naughty step. Naughty step for you.
It does make you wonder where Caesar salad came from, though.
I'm actually assuming it was something that one of the Caesars actually had as part of their food, to be completely honest. I'll be shocked if it wasn't.
Maybe I don't know. I mean, Augustus Caesar tried to reinstitute civic morality. Okay,
Huh?
and that once again, this goes to some problems here because when you talk about civic morality, if you're going to talk about morality, what's the first type of morality people think about? They think about sexual morality, right? And the
Mm-hmm.
idea that Augustus Caesar did not have mistresses and things like that, we know he had mistresses.
Yeah.
So where was this going? Right? What was he trying to do? Was he living up to the same standard? Is this type of hypocrisy that you're talking about? Right? The
You
answer to
saying rules for me and not for thee?
yes and no. All right. I mean, the question I've always wondered about is how far did he actually try to push some of this stuff? Now, he did crack down. Quite frankly, he did crack down on a lot of the serious excesses, I should say, right, that were going on.
Huh?
But he didn't stop prostitution. He didn't try to round up all the prostitutes and have them executed in the square, all right, or anything like that. So I guess I don't know the answer to exactly what he was trying to do, but he did try to promote civic virtue, right? Especially try to reinstate the whole idea of like the Vestal Virgins and everything,
Yeah.
right? I'm not saying the man wasn't something. Augustus Caesar, in a lot of ways, is quite an interesting individual. Okay, unlike most people, unlike Julius Caesar, right? Augustus Caesar grew up weak. He had a very poor constitution.
Yeah.
All right, he was not early on. They thought he was going to die in childhood. Okay,
Yeah.
and if he was alive today in today's society, when he was very young, right, they would call him a nerd. He was Urkel. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
As a man, though, he's like you've seen the character that played Urkel as a man, all right?
Yeah.
A totally different person, right?
Yeah.
That's probably Augustus Caesar, right? As a
Mm.
once he came of age, his health and he was able to his body got healthy enough to where he was able to deal with the rigors of what it meant to be a campaigning individual on a battlefield, right? And he grew in
Yeah.
strength, and he grew into the role. It was not natural for him. The battlefield general that he is later in life is not the same that he was early on. And he don't get me wrong. He was not the brilliant tactician that Julius Caesar was on a battlefield. He wasn't. Okay, but at the same time, he grew into the role where he was he was more than a competent commander. Does that make sense? He grew into the role. He learned. He learned to be a general. Maybe not the best, not the greatest, but he learned how to be a good one, good enough to put down a really good general in Mark Antony.
Hmm.
And Mark Antony had a lot of other problems, though. Mark Antony's. And this happens to a lot of people, right? You think you're bigger than you are, right? You forget how you got there. You think you can do things on your own, right?
Yeah.
And Mark Antony was a heck of a general when he had legions under him that could perform. But at the same time, when you're dealing with substandard troops, Mark Antony couldn't deal with it. Right? He did not know how to deal with substandard troops, and Mark Antony had no understanding of warfare on the ocean, right? And so when the fleets engaged, right, they got the shit kicked out of them because Mark Antony didn't know what he was doing. Right? Now, warfare on ships back in those days was a lot more difficult to actually handle. As an admiral, it was a lot more difficult to actually manage a fleet than it was troops on the ground. Right? Because communication is so much more difficult. You know that as well as I do.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah. No. One thing, yeah. Max was saying apparently the Caesar salad was named after an Italian chef named Caesar Cardino. Sorry, Cardini. Apologies. Okay. Thank you, Matt.
But one thing the reason I brought that up though about Caesar though is Caesar did try to also reform moderation in eating and stuff, right? And so he did have a more modest. He did not have feasts like everyone else has. You know what I mean? All the time.
Oh yeah.
And unfortunately, like a lot of his successors did later on. Right? Nero, Caligula come to mind.
People blame Caligula. He was just eccentric.
No, Caligula was demented. Okay. Caligula was demented. Now, Caligula probably some of that dementia came from probably lead poisoning.
Yeah.
Right? But a lot of it also probably came from his upbringing under Trajan. But
yeah.
But Caligula was demented. You cannot.
Oh, just because he had a horse as a counselor or something similar? What's wrong with that? Seems like a perfectly reasonable thing to do.
He deified a horse.
There we go. Yeah.
As well. But he did make the horse a counsel.
Oh, right, okay, I thought so. Yeah.
Right. He did. Now let's be honest. I mean, it's this is what I'm saying. The guy was demented. Okay.
Oh, Matt has come up with a horrific concept, and my imagination is taken over, and it's not good. Imagine if there was a Caligula salad.
Oh, Caligula salad?
Starts
like this. Starts like this. 2 blood proteins may hold the secret to living longer. So the Queen had it right all along.
Mm-hmm.
In a study from Edinburgh, Scotland. What a surprise. Who doesn't want to live a long, active life? Humans have been searching for the figurative and literal fountain of youth for centuries, but a new research team at the University of Edinburgh suggests that the key to a healthy life has been circulating through our bodies all along. Scientists report that 2 specific blood proteins may play a major role in determining an individual's overall health and longevity. The aging process, to a certain extent, is unavoidable. Despite this, study authors set out to investigate which specific blood proteins hold more sway than others when it comes to aging. Certain people naturally exhibit higher or lower levels of various proteins due to their genetics. In such cases, these protein levels can end up impacting health. Of course, from daily decisions people make each day to the genetic history of their families, a number of factors influence mortality. Okay.
One sec. Couple of things from Matt, okay? First of all, he's pointed out how long before the elites just admit they drink the blood of children. That's not the bit you should be worried about, mate. It's when they find out what these two proteins are, and the elites start hunting people to get these proteins.
Do you
Literally
do you wonder?
farming people.
Do you think that the vampirism is is a joke?
No. It is what it is. I'm just disturbed when they start farming people. I really am.
Well, I mean that's the whole point of cloning farms, isn't it?
I don't know if cloning will actually do it. That's
Well, I mean,
actually the question.
you know, I mean, isn't that the take of this, right? Isn't that what you're trying to suggest here?
No, that's only good for feeding. See, it really does depend what they're getting out of the blood. It
Well,
really
you
is.
got in order to get them good and healthy, you got to put them on the treadmill every day for a few years, right? So they get really healthy, so you get the healthy snack food, right?
Yeah, and hey, once you fed the elites with the blood, you might as well use the rest of the person for you know, their
Soylent Green.
parts.
Just putting it out
I
there.
never said that out loud. I might have been thinking it, but I never said it. Mm-hmm.
Here's someone that missed a few snacks, however.
Mm-hmm.
Lori Lightfoot promised to keep Chicago, or to change Chicago. Crises keep piling up. That's the change she promised, morons. I really wish I knew who the author of this stupid article was. Because it doesn't tell you.
How can you look at that face and not think, "Oh Jesus Christ, kill it with fire"?
Burn it down now. Burn it before
No,
it bleeds.
seriously. Okay, I look at that and I just see The Walking Dead.
Days into a dispute between Mayor Lori Lightfoot and the Chicago's teachers union, labor leaders outlined what they describe as a grand compromise. Students who have been receiving no instruction after teachers voted to stop reporting to classes amid the coronavirus surge would attend a few days of online school followed by a full in-person return. Ms. Lightfoot was having none of it. Within minutes, she and the head of the school district released a statement that accused union leadership of not listening. We will not relent, they said, calling instead for a swift return to in-person classes. Days later, it was the union that largely relented. Students returned to school buildings earlier than the teachers had wanted, with some additional COVID safeguards in place. There is no COVID safeguards. You're not safe from COVID, folks. No one is. Okay? If this pandemic has shown anything, it's the fact that no matter what you do, you're not going to be safe from this shit. So far, no one's come up with a foolproof plan or even a working plan, as far as I can tell, right, that prevents people from getting COVID en masse. You would not have all these celebrities like Whoopi Goldberg on The View talking about how she got COVID when she says, I was doing everything, practicing all the safe practices. Well, if you were practicing all the safe practices and still got COVID, and this is hardly the only one, I mean, there's thousands of celebrities you could point to.
Oh yeah.
No one's safe. I'm not saying, no, don't misunderstand me. I'm not saying that you can't get shots and that the shots won't help you or anything else. I'm not saying any of that. I'm just saying you're not safe from getting COVID. For those who don't know, my brother told me last week that he got COVID.
Sympathies.
Now I asked him how it was. He's got a mild version. Says it's so I'm not worried about him specifically of anything, and he is healthy. Unlike me, right, in my nice little round, rotund shape, he is not rotund and round in any way, shape, or form. Right?
Mm-hmm.
He has always been a outgoing, workaholic kind of person, right? And likes the outdoors, right? He loves going out there and doing outdoor stuff all the time. He stays physically fit all the time. He runs all the time. He's a runner, right? So he is not in the any of the comorbidity categories at this point in time in his life, right? Aside from his age, because he is in his 60s.
Yeah.
But being as it may, right? The nothing he could do, and he works for in a government facility where they all have masking and all that other shit. None of it prevented him from getting it. Right now, like I said, thankfully, he's got a mild version of it, right? Or he's not having the serious symptoms. I'm curious. He didn't tell me whether or not he lost his sense of taste. Right. I've always been curious about that. Right. But and I'm not trying to mitigate the seriousness of the disease per se. Right. I'm not. But I can honestly say, I think that I'm on halfway decent grounds to say nothing you do is going to prevent you necessarily from getting COVID. Right? If you're healthy, it's the best way to do what you can to mitigate getting it when you do get it, if you get it, right? But I honestly think that COVID is going to be one of those things that not only is going to be around forever, but I think it's one of those things that eventually everyone's going to get.
Yep.
Nothing you do is going to prevent you from getting it. From what I can tell, masks haven't stopped it. Right? Mm-hmm. Social distancing, in air quotes, hasn't stopped it. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Locking people in their homes hasn't stopped it.
I think it's made it worse.
Okay. Well, I think it makes the symptoms worse, right? It seems you get a more serious case because you get a higher viral load if you're constantly, hitting your immune system with what it appears to me like it. Now I'm not a doctor, okay, so I'm like, and I have not sat up there and seen all that data or done all the studies on this, so don't assume that I have. But just from a layman's perspective, it doesn't seem to have the kind of effect that it was promised, okay, for as far as the COVID stuff. But as far as Lori Lightfoot in Chicago, she promised all sorts of things. And she delivered. Okay? Well, all these people are bitching and crying about what happened in Chicago with the death rates and everything else going on and the burning and everything. And Chicago is now underwater and it's now losing money. They had to jack up taxes again on people. This is what she promised to do to you all. If you're in Chicago and you're upset about the direction Chicago has taken, okay, well then, why did you vote for her? Seriously. Question. She did change Chicago for the worse, and she promised she would do it, and she succeeded. I don't know why people are upset. Or am I missing something?
No, I agree with you. That's a problem. You are right. Should she? No. Did she? Yes. Did they vote for this? Yes. Should they have? No. But they did. So
they voted for this fully understanding when you vote for a freaking what you're going to do with the police force. You didn't try to make the police force better. All you tried to sit up there is run around saying that, well, we need to go out there with your, what do you call them? Social workers. Social workers. Well, we need more social work out there. Social work isn't the issue. You're not going to fix anything. Tell me one thing that social workers have ever fixed in life.
Actually, thinking about it, I don't know about better in life, but I think I know why they want to take social workers with the police. Body shields.
You want to give the criminals hostages early on?
No, I mean, think about it, okay? The criminal open fires on the policeman. The policeman steps behind the social worker. Social worker gets shot. Policeman shoots a criminal, and you got rid of 2 criminals in one go.
You're saying you want to use one leftist for the only thing he's good for, which is bullet collection, right? Is that what you're trying to say there, Jenson?
Hi. British Army. Nice to meet you. Mhm.
What's the leftist good for? Well, they make great bullet catching units.
Yes. If you staple them to a tank, they're really good for tank gun defense. Or if nothing else, it gets rid of the things you don't want. So who cares if the tank goes, as long as you get rid of, several.
Tread lubrication.
Yeah.
tread lubrication methodologies.
Well, look, you can hardly say that you don't like the idea. Just remember, you were the one that was suggesting we should do this to the Extinction Rebellion idiots that were going out into the middle of the street and superglue themselves to the highway. You remember that, right?
Look, if you want to superglue yourself to a highway, I mean, you're saying that you're asphalt, right?
No, Dude, I agree with you. I'm just pointing out that you have to admit that I'm not wrong when it comes to this.
I assume what they're volunteering to be is road bumps, right? Speed bumps. So you got to go over them nice and slow with the treads.
Rubbish.
Why go fast?
Yeah, we'll spin. Whee! Mm-hmm. So,
all right, time to another story. Don't you love this? Don't you love Nomads story time? This is going on much longer than I thought we would today. I'll be honest with you. We're going on what now?
2 hours.
2 hours. Grief. All right, let's get on to this next story here.
Yeah.
Merrill Lynch advisor, right? For those who don't know, Merrill Lynch is a finance company. All right, fired after racist tirade against the smoothie shop employee. Okay, so let's read this story because let's find out what this tirade's all about. All right, a Merrill Lynch financial advisor, all right, from Connecticut, right, who was arrested, for allegedly throwing a smoothie at a teenage employee, right, calling her an effing immigrant, has been fired after footage of his racist rant went viral. James Iannazzo, 48, was arrested and charged with a hate crime following a chaotic scene at a Robex in Fairfield just after 2:30 p.m. Saturday, the Fairfield Police Department said. The wild encounter, this was last week, folks, just so you understand how long ago this was. The wild encounter erupted after an irate Iannazzo, okay, returned to the store after earlier ordering a smoothie that was supposedly contained peanuts, which caused his highly allergic son to have a reaction requiring hospitalization, authorities said. Okay. Okay. The guy acted like a normal, caring father. Okay. Did he lose it? Should he have been arrested? Don't have a problem with that. Firing the guy because the person who he ordered a smoothie from, when he said, make sure there's no peanuts because my son has a peanut allergy, fails to do so, and his son almost dies? I'm sorry, but that sounds a bit forgivable to me to find out that he had lost, he got upset.
Yeah.
Okay? Because if this had happened to me, I can see myself going into the store being pissed off to bloody hell about this person who almost killed my child for being an incompetent buffoon.
Yep.
To charge him with a hate crime and then firing him. I'm sorry, if this guy was working for me, I would never would have fired him.
Nah.
Right? I might say, look, dude, you needed to step back a little bit. I understand the situation, though. But this guy, I'm not saying what he did was right, okay? But it's not the end of the world wrong. And to be honest, all right, he's a good guy who's trying to support his children. I can see why the guy lost it a bit. If you're a parent and your son or your daughter, all right, is harmed by an idiot, You're lucky the guy did the guy go in there with a tire iron and beat the holy hell out of the person?
Perfectly valid.
Okay, I mean throwing a smoothie at him is I'm not saying it's a good thing, but he didn't beat her with a tire iron or beat him with a tire iron, did he?
Hmm?
Or just walk up to him, put two bullets in the head, and say, "There, how's that feel?"
Yeah.
So when it comes to this, look, what he did is more than forgivable. I don't know why you're trying to look. The police have to do what their job is, which is once again, it isn't public safety, right?
Hmm?
This is the thing. All right. It's not, they're not there to save you from public. It's to sit up there and pacify the public. Is to prevent, is to ensure order, right? Was this guy breaking the order? Yeah. Arresting him? Sure. Charging him with a hate crime? Come on. Come on. I don't care if he called the person whatever he called the person. I don't give a shit. The guy is almost lost his child. Okay. His reaction is understandable, right? He's not going to sit up there and talk to them like they're sweet Mary Sunshine. Oh, look, it's Mother Teresa. He's not going to use words that he would talk to Mother Teresa like. Just put it out there.
Agree.
Or am I just missing something?
No. Dude, I completely agree with you. In all fairness, like you said, the barista was lucky that he just didn't walk in and bang, 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 high-speed lead injection. There you go, and walk out.
Yeah, I'm not saying that he was, like I said, I'm not saying that he was right for what he did as far as yelling at this person. Because let's be honest, I mean, people, it's easy enough to make a mistake, right? And yes, when you make a mistake
was made.
Huh?
Just if a mistake was made. Just pointing this out, it has been said several times how these people may accidentally get your order wrong to a dangerous level. Okay,
Sometimes
we
people
don't know
do
what.
that. I admit that, but there's no evidence that that's the case here.
No,
I'm not gonna read
no.
into this in this case.
Okay,
Right.
that's fair.
What you said is accurate. I'm not gonna deny that. But the thing is if you can't understand this guy, why this guy did what he did, you know, you're not human as far as I'm concerned, right? You have got to put yourself in this guy's place, in my opinion. You're wrong for not. If you don't, you're wrong. This is just just me, right? But you're wrong if you don't understand why this guy was enraged, especially when you're dealing with your son, right? It amazes me how fast people will get enraged today for something that happens to other people's children, but then they expect the actual parent of that child to be all, well, I'll be erudite and very calm and circumspect when dealing with my own child. Bullshit. It's the other way around, folks.
Yeah.
It's the other way around. And it should be the other way around. And Merrill Lynch, this makes sure that I will never, ever, all right? Not that I would ever anyway. There's no way I have that kind of money. But if somehow I walked over and somebody handed me a lottery ticket and I won the lottery, right? And now I'm a multi-billionaire, right? If that ever happened to me, I still wouldn't work with Merrill Lynch. Not if they're going to fire this guy for this. And I would let them know.
Yep.
I'd rather hire this guy than freaking those idiots.
Fair.
Sir. Sorry. Right? Now, do I think the whole peanut thing is out of control and that he missed the fact that he should have checked? I haven't missed that. Okay. I'm sure that one of the things that one of the reasons he's angry is he's angry at himself for not checking a damn thing. Right? For trusting these people. I'm sure that that's an aspect of it too. But I can understand his anger, all right? I'm not justifying his anger. I'm not saying that he should have thrown a freaking drink at somebody, all right? But to charge him with a hate crime, go pound sand, guys. Right? If you're the prosecutor, they should find out. They didn't give us the name of the prosecutor in the story, but the prosecuting attorney, the guy who's the DA who decided to charge him with hate crime, that guy's name should be known, and that guy should be thrown out on his ear.
Yeah. Probably why they didn't say his name, because there would have been a reaction.
Right? Because that's it, you. They let murderers go out, but a guy throws a smoothie and it's a freaking next. You know, I was just earlier taking the piss out of you guys for trying to get rid of your prime minister for having a party at his house. and we end up freaking prosecuting the guy because he dared to throw a smoothie because his son almost died from a drink. Right? At the same time, we're letting these freaking murderers go out on the street and kill people.
What is wrong with this world? Really?
Put it out there. All right, you have a lot of comments. Final story of the day, folks. Final story. Jensen has a lot of comments on this. I'm gonna let him comment after I read the story extensively. Okay. I might add. Mm-hmm. U.S. judge may suspend the Mustang roundup in Nevada. Suit pending. A federal judge is considering temporarily suspending the capture of wild horses in Nevada, where their advocates say the federal government is needlessly and recklessly killing free-roaming Mustangs in violation of U.S. laws. The U.S. District Judge Miranda Dew. Miranda Dew. Mm-hmm. That's quite a name.
To be honest, what you want to ask is, does she have a sister called Miranda Don't? That's the question.
Says she expects to rule on Monday or maybe sooner on the advocate's request for an emergency order pending other hearing next week, all right, to learn more about the potential danger of a roundup near the Utah state line. The Bureau of Land Management insists it must gather the Mustangs before the end of February, one of several scheduled on the expedited basis across the West due to severe drought. I don't think that we're having a severe drought. At least not in the East Coast, anyway. Right now, I think they're bitching about something else, like snow. If court grants the temporary restraining order and sets a hearing next week, halts the gather for a few days through next week, what's the harm? Dew asked lawyers representing the agency Wednesday during a hastily called hearing in Reno. Maggie Smith, a Justice Department lawyer, said the delay of even 2 or 3 days would prevent the agency from completing the removals before the end of the year. The Bureau is prohibited from using helicopters to drive the herds into temporary corrals from March 1st to June 1st, where mares are typically pregnant and give birth. After that, the summer heat adds to the stress of the animals, and in the fall, contractor availability becomes a problem. Well, wait a minute. It says they're prohibited from using them herding them in the corrals from March to June.
Mm-hmm.
And then says after that, contracts will become a problem. I don't understand. But anyway, that's the story. Jensen, you have comments about this. You have questions and comments and stuff.
Yes, I do. One, I did not know that the horses were actually a viable target. I thought they belonged to the federal government and you weren't allowed to go around killing the bloody things, but apparently you can. This shocks the living hell out of me. Then, and I mean, I'm not going to do the joke with the picture shown. It did look like the helicopter was coming down, chop the head off the horses. Please don't. I really hope that's not actually what I plan on doing. Though that would explain the concept of saving, on corralling them. You just chop the buggers' heads off. But I'm sure that's not what they're doing, and I'm not going to suggest that because that would be wrong. I really hope they weren't doing that. But seriously, though, okay. These are on federal land, theoretically. And then Nomad tells me that you're allowed to, it's legal to hunt these bloody horses. What is wrong with you lot? I'm sorry, but no, stop it, okay? I know that technically they are an invasive species. Technically, they were brought in from outside your country, and have now taken over. I get all that. I really do. But freaking really, people, you're massacring horses. And it should be illegal, even if it's not. Okay?
Okay, what would you prefer them do? What you don't want them to get killed. What do you prefer that
Yeah.
they do? Die of starvation? Become disease ridden?
No. No. This is the problem, you see. You are correct. This is the problem. You are correct.
You have a
But,
problem with these things because at various times these herds get too large. Now, they
yes.
have tried everything. And back there's even a movie, an old Clark Gable movie, all right,
Mm-hmm.
that shows them rounding these things up. This used to be a huge, much bigger than it is today, to be honest. Where you go
Yeah,
out
they
there,
should.
you gather a bunch of these, and you break them, and you bring them back to the ranches, and you sell these mustangs, these wild horses after you break them, and settle them down, right? And then you could sell them, right?
Yeah. I'm
But
assuming by that film you mean they shoot horses, don't they?
no, they don't shoot them; they break them.
No,
They,
no, that's the name of the film.
the name of the film was "They Shoot Them." I
I
don't.
believe the name of I seem to remember that there was a book, so I'm assuming it was a film called They Shoot Horses, don't they?
I don't know if that's if that's the movie. All right, I don't remember the name of the
Okay.
movie, but
All right.
it was with Clark Gable and Marilyn Monroe, I believe. Right.
Okay.
And the thing is, you round them up. They go in there. They take them to corrals. They break them, and then they sell them to ranches. Right. But the
Mm-hmm.
problem is that you don't have a need for horses on ranches anymore. Right. Not like you used to. Right. To be honest, the big ranches still have horses. They just don't have the amount of horses that they have because they do so much with vehicles now. Right. Pickup trucks can do a lot of things that you can do in a horse. And guess what? In the wintertime, the pickup's got a heater.
Yep. No. Fair.
Right. So
MC.
you get to stay warm.
Yeah. I'm sending something to you as a DM. There you go. The film. They shoot horses, don't they?
Yeah, that might be. Right. Because the other thing about a horse, and this is something that I had to learn, right,
Oh,
was
I've just seen who's in it. Don't look, mate. Don't look.
well, why is this not Clark Gable?
No, worse than that, it's Hanoi Jane.
Oh.
Yeah, like I said, don't look.
I don't think this is the movie I was talking about.
Probably not, but just based on the description, I don't think we can really give a better name for a film than that. I mean, come on. We
Yeah,
are talking about shooting
okay. I don't think that's the
horses.
name of the film. Like I said, it was Clark. I know it had Clark Gable. It's one of his last films, right? So he was long before Hanoi Jane, right? That's why I was like, what?
Yeah.
Hanoi Jane? I don't think Clark Gable's ever in a movie with Hanoi Jane, right? Right? Maybe he might have been. I'm sure Clark Gable was in a movie with her father,
Yeah.
but Hanoi Girl, that isn't. But and of course, when a horse breaks its leg, they generally euthanize the horse or shoot the horse, right?
Yep.
Because they have to.
Yeah.
Okay. Now you could say, well, they don't physically have to do it. If you don't want that animal to suffer, you'll shoot the horse.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, it's just this is one of the things that I didn't know until they had that recent race horse that broke its leg during the race, right?
Mm-hmm.
And th- and this is with modern medicine, modern veterinary medicine, and they couldn't save the horse.
Yeah.
Okay, they did everything they could to prevent that horse from getting an infection due to the hoof diseases and dying, and they failed.
Yep.
Okay, and they ended up having to put the horse down. And it was when I was reading those stories about what happens because of the broken leg and what happens to the horse, all right, and why they have to do this. It makes sense now because I mean, let's be honest. With a human being, we look at it like, okay, you break your leg, you put your leg in a cast, you go on. How come you can't do that with a horse? We can't. Okay, the thing is, you can't do that because the horse has to use its feet. All right, and what I mean by having to use its feet, if it doesn't use its feet, if it doesn't use that hoof, right, disease sets in and kills the horse. It's one of the things that you don't realize until, because the horse is not going to try and walk on a leg that hurts like hell. Nobody is.
No.
You're gonna hop
Oh,
around on one foot. You know, if your foot hurts like hell, you're not going to step on it. You know, if
yeah.
you can avoid it, right? So the animals do the same thing. The problem is with a horse, if it doesn't use its foot, the hoof gets infected somehow. It's very susceptible to infections and everything, and all of a sudden the horse dies, and in the worst, most horrible manner possible, right? In a lot of pain and suffering. So it's unfortunate, but in the thing is that we used to have this roundup for these Mustangs along. This is a normal part of that way of life for a long time. Is what I'm trying to point out. But the reason that they do it is these things have really no natural predators on the continent, which is why they spread out so fast. Yes,
Yeah.
wolves can take down a horse. Okay? A horse.
Mm-hmm.
It can't keep their population under control, though. This is something people don't understand. And the horses will eat themselves into starvation. Right?
Yeah.
On this land. And when there's, like they said, a drought. And the land out here in the west, all right, and up there near Nevada near the border with Utah. It's good scrub land, right? But you're not seeing the kind of rainfall that you get other places, okay? In Tucson, Arizona, we average around 12 inches of total rainfall a year, okay? And that's not a lot of rain, folks. It's not.
No.
And I mean, people like that live in other areas, and they talk about a drought. We've only had 20 inches of rain. I just started laughing. It's almost twice what our average rainfall is. But I live in a desert. This is desert land,
Yeah.
and further north they get a little bit more rainfall, but it's still scrub land. It's not forest, right? You're not talking about a forested region, and you're not talking about the plain states either, where, believe it or not, the plain states get a good bit of rain. Not massive amounts, right? But enough so that on the grasslands it would all. If you didn't farm any of that area in Nebraska and in Kansas and in Iowa and Missouri, and those areas right there, that whole area would be just one big grassy plain. Right? Yeah. And if you allowed nature to take its course, it would turn into a forest. Because there's enough rainfall for it to be a forest.
Oh yeah.
Okay? The reason it's not, right, has to do with, the climate and activities of mankind. Okay, but horses would love in those areas. There's huge pasture land areas. There would be forested, wooded areas and meadows everywhere. There would be all sorts of stuff, right? But the western side, in the western deserted areas, right, up in Nevada and here in Arizona, in the northern part of Arizona, right, it's scrub land. Yes, horses can survive, and the great thing is they can see long distances, so they can see predators. It would take wolves quite a bit to take down a horse, right? Because like it or not, a single horse can easily outrun a dog,
Yeah.
right? And what's more is it can kill a dog, and it could kill a wolf too, right? With those hooves,
Yeah.
right? They're not helpless. That's the other thing about these
Oh
animals.
no.
They think they're helpless, right? No, they're not helpless. They can do damage. Now they mean to be helpless when it comes to humans, because humans are smart enough to pick up a spear and can keep the hooves away while they got something sharp and pokey at the end, right? Right? Which is what we used to do, right? And horses make great animals for pack animals and riding and nomadic lifestyle. It's well for nomadic lifestyle. But if they get out of control, they can they have wasting disease and everything, and it got to the point in the 70s, in the late 60s and early 70s, where you literally had to go out there and mow these herds down. They mowed whole entire herds down.
Yeah.
Right? And when I mean mow, I mean mow. They would go up in helicopters. This is illegal now, by the way. But they would go up in helicopters and shoot 50 or 60 of these animals. Shoot them.
I'm just going to ask, why does your country not use horses as dog food? Because we do. Okay, no offense, but you sound like you are literally wasting food, and I think that's what's probably doing my head in the most.
We ouch. We do. And
you all right, mate?
Yeah, I mean, just smacked my foot in the table. I don't need that foot anyway. Big toes are replaceable, right?
Yeah, you got a spare. Yeah, you got a spare. Look, dude, you got a spare one. Relax.
No, but
hot bitch. Yeah.
No, we used to.
And
we do even today. It's not that we don't do it. We don't feed. There's food. There's meat food, right? That I guarantee comes from horse meat for dog food, but it's not the primary dog food. No. And that's probably due to the fact that we don't have enough horses.
If you think about it, it's kind of funny because you literally just said you got too many horses.
Too many horses in this area.
Yes. So why does that area not deliver high-speed lead, use the meat, feed the dogs, use the bones, make glue?
Yeah, they probably do.
Oh, good. It just makes it makes sense to do that.
Did you think that when I was talking about culling these things, they just left them on the ground?
Well, you didn't actually define anything was happening to them, so yes. Weirdly, that is actually what I thought was going on. They were literally just being left. And before you say, oh, we'd never do that, should I mention the buffalo?
Different situation with the buffalo. Yeah. People think that the buffalo were hunted and left on the ground for the hell of it. It's not why the buffalo were hunted and left on the ground. Right?
No, rumor has it, again, could be wrong, that they were hunted with the tongues and the rest of it was of no use.
No.
Okay.
They were hunted, right? Specifically they were hunted by the railroads, right, to protect the railroads. Because when these massive herds went across an area of railroad track, they destroyed it.
Yeah.
Right? And so a train doing 30 miles an hour, thinking it's got a nice little freaking, straight shot, no problems, hits a part where, and all the passengers in the back are, bloody noses and so forth, being thrown around like this, and you just lost a train. The railroads weren't real happy with that.
Huh? Fair.
Right, and even if it didn't happen that way, what would happen is the railroads would be like steaming along and then see a huge herd of these things and then have to stop. And sometimes these animals would sit there on those tracks for days.
So that's what cattle scoops are for on front of trains. Just saying.
Okay, but what happens when you do that? Right. These things are not.
Cow learns to fly.
You're not hitting a human being that's a road patty.
No, right? You're hitting a cow that's now a road patty.
No, no offense. You're hitting a bison, which is considerably heavier and a lot tougher. And you're not hitting one. You're hitting 15 or 20.
How heavy do you think a bison is?
A bison is about 2,000 pounds.
How heavy do you think a train is?
No, I take that back. It's about 600. About 600
Okay,
pounds.
Again, how heavy do you think a train is? Do you think it's more than 600 pounds?
how like the guards can move out one or two without any problem, but after you go through 15 or 20 of these things, you're not. You're
You
not.
got
Things get bent and twisted and all sorts of shit.
yeah, but
And
at least you got food for the people on the train.
and you're
No,
gonna tell the people on the train to get off the train and butcher the thing.
it's creating jobs, isn't it?
Okay, you get off the train. What happens to you? Think about
Look,
this.
I'm going to
There,
guess you're
there,
working on the idea the rest of Buffalo trample you flat. Yeah, I know.
well, the rest of the buffalo aren't going to sit up there and come up and lick your face.
Oh, yeah, well.
Okay, right? They're not going to sit up there and play cards, right? So if you get out of the train, all right.
Dude, let's be fair. How many people want to actually take the mental image of Buffalo strip poker? Just use that mental image.
All right. The thing is the buffalo people think that these animals, wild animals, are just if they're especially when they're grass eaters, right, or herbivores, that they're harmless.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Herbivores aren't necessarily harmless, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not saying that the carnivore is hunting you, all right, but there are plenty of herbivores, all right, that will turn you into a smear patty and enjoy doing it the entire time.
They're called elephants.
Rhinos are just one example. Okay,
Also rhinos. Yeah.
rhinos will do it. Elephants will do it. Giraffes, believe it or not, if they get pissed off, will attack humans. Generally, they ignore humans, right? But buffalo are they have a Cape buffaloes. They're well known for ripping people up. They're well known for freaking having a group of them stay in front of you so you can't move while a few in the back go around and circle around so they can surround you.
Dude, that's a velociraptor.
No,
You might be thinking a different creature.
that's a Cape buffalo that eats grass. They do that to lions too. Okay? There's a reason lions tend not to attack Cape buffaloes.
That's slightly disturbing. Okay.
Right? They will attack a Cape buffalo when they're hungry enough. But if the Cape buffalo is there, if the herd is there, you're screwed. You are screwed.
Okay. Well, like I say, my point was the waste. That was my issue, really. But all right, if you're actually telling me that they do use the horses for something,
open a big
fine.
pit. Now, okay, there are times that they have done that, but it was times when
With that,
yeah,
just so you know,
for the people who aren't okay with it, you got to remember we did that to farmers as well. There was ranchers would suffer through those things too. If their herd came down with a certain communicable disease, they would wipe out the entire herd and wipe a rancher out.
hey, you might want to word that carefully because the way you said that was as though they take the farmers, shove them in a pen and shoot them.
Well, the farmers felt that way.
Okay. By the way, we've got poor streaming status, just so you know.
Yeah. Well, it's nothing I can do about that. I mean, now it's at solid green. No, it just went back out again. So it is what it is. But no, that's they didn't. People aren't that callous that they would always try. They would try to sit up there and use the animals and send them to glue factories and so forth. And believe it or not, it's not illegal necessarily. In could be in certain states, but it's not illegal in every state to eat horse meat.
Mm-hmm.
And supposedly, I've never had horse meat, so I don't know. Supposedly, it's supposed to be pretty good. Don't know. Right?
We won't eat because it's too French.
Maybe.
No, you heard me. You heard me there. I'm not joking. One of the major reasons we would not seriously consider doing such things because the French do it.
So you're gonna deny yourself a tasty treat because the French do something? Was that what you're telling yourself?
Well, why a horse when you can eat a cow, for one thing?
Well, there's no doubt about that. And cows are delicious.
There we go. Okay, say what you like. A burger's a burger, all right? And I know technically you could make horse burgers. I know this because that was a problem that was going on over here at one point. Boy, did that go well.
We have something called buffaloes, right? We were talking about the buffaloes. People actually raise
Yes.
buffalo for food.
Yes.
The
I'm
problem with
okay with that concept.
the problem with that is they're not as meaty, right?
Oh,
They do
okay.
not have nearly as much meat on them as cattle do, right? They weren't designed that way. They were designed to survive in the environment, that existed there, and while cattle can also survive in that environment, especially when they're protected by humans, right? Buffaloes were, they had other priorities as well. That's why their heads are massive, right?
Oh, yeah.
And you're not eating the skull, okay? And you're not going to eat. And I know people were talking about the tongues were delicacies, and yes, buffalo tongue was a delicacy, but the reason they were hunted was not just for their tongues. The main reason they were hunted was, like I said, the railroads wanted them gone because they were a nuisance, right? They were a
Okay.
nuisance and they were a danger to the railroads, and that's why they got rid of them. But nobody wants to talk about that. And did they go overboard with them? Yes. All right. Did they wipe out and end the buffalo as a creature that roamed the plains? Yes, they did. Did they almost wipe them out to extinction? Yes, they did. Did it have the added effect of pacifying the Native Americans because they couldn't roam around for the buffalo? Yes, it did, which is the second reason they did it.
Yeah.
Right? Which was to starve, especially the Sioux Indians, from their primary food source and force them onto reservations. Not saying it was a good idea, not saying it was a good thing, but that was the other reason they did it.
Okay.
All right. So I'm not saying that this is all sweetness and light, okay, and so forth. I'm just saying that the reasons you hear about, oh, they just wanted the tongues, they were just evil people. It wasn't the only reason. I'm not saying the other reasons were any better, but
Yeah. Yeah.
okay. Because, well, quite frankly, what are you going to do with them? Right? If the railroads, theoretically, the railroads could have fenced that entire area off, right?
Mm-hmm.
And ran huge fencing all along the rail lines, right?
Or they could have just killed the animal off and saved money from having to part the fencing.
Well,
I
but at some point you okay, maintaining that fencing would have been a freaking nightmare.
Yep. Oh
Okay,
yeah.
so that would have been the big problem with it. Now you would also have had to realize you would have had to come to, okay, we got to set up certain points where the buffalo have to come through as a transit point, right? Because they're going to transition on both sides of the railroad, right?
Yeah.
So you're going to have to build in these transit points, right? And
Yeah.
the animals, believe it or not, the animals are not stupid. They'll eventually learn, okay, here's the transit point. They'll flow in and out of the transit points, right?
Huh?
That's what animals will do, right? They're not stupid, right? But at those transit points, then, with the number of herds that you would have there, you got to remember the buffalo. There was so many buffalo. I'm not joking when I say that a buffalo herd that was moving across the plains would take a day or two, right, to get totally across a railroad tracks.
That's disturbing. Mm-hmm.
Now they were not. Let's be honest. They weren't charging across, right?
Mm-hmm.
They were sauntering, But
Yeah.
you didn't dare get out of the train and go say hi or go boo. Okay.
By the
Right?
way, I like Carl's comment. We don't call them Indians, Nomad. Reservation decorations will do. I thought you called them casino workers, but okay.
Oh gosh.
What? What? I guess we're probably going to be getting banned for that.
Theater workers. Look, the, the the Lakota or the Sioux Indians, right,
Hmm.
were greatly benefited from the advent of the horse.
Yeah.
Okay, they became the terrors of the plains because of the horse.
Yeah, they've got speed. They can finally roam like they want to. It's
Well, it's not
totally
just that.
valid.
It's that you can grow when your job is to when your tribe's only way of living is to follow buffalo on foot. Can you imagine trying to
Yeah.
follow these things on foot all around,
True.
right? Then all of a sudden you get a horse. It's a lot easier to track a freaking herd and a lot safer, mind you, right? To track a herd on a horse, right, than on foot.
Um, a person who isn't here, and she's made very clear that she isn't here, asks, "What's the temperature where you are?"
Right now it's about 58. It's nice in comparison to the East Coast. But what we didn't get
Hmm.
this is rain, and this is supposed to be our wet season. We're supposed to get bit of drizzly rain, and we've not had any drizzle rain. So we are not starting off wet this year again.
Okay.
Now our
Well,
monsoon season made up for it last year. We'll probably make up for it again this year, but normally it is
uh,
a lot more. We do get a little bit more rain at this time of year normally.
no, no.
You
Okay.
did you even have snow?
My country does, but my city doesn't.
So the England has there's snow around England. It just stopped when it got to London.
Pretty much stopped about halfway down, hit the Midlands, and went, "Nah, we're not going any further." But no, I'm not actually joking with that. That is pretty much what happened. And then it hit London and really went, "We're definitely not going in there, mate."
Yeah, tell me that next week
Oh no,
because
oh
because I
no,
think
there's
I think this thing's on its way to you guys. I think
oh it
that they're in
is.
the east.
Yeah, no, it is. There's actually a whole bunch of reports. I'm not actually concerned because, like I said, for some reason, London just goes, at snow. And then if it does snow, we shut down. I mean, seriously, 1 inch of snow to transfer it over to you guys. London loses its ever living mind. And that is insane. We cannot deal with that. Whereas it could rain monsoon weather and our entire reaction is whatever. But snow we lose our mind. I don't know why.
Yeah, I can tell you right now here in this area when it does snow, which is once every 4, 5, 6 years, right?
Hmm.
We can go stretches of a decade or more without snow, right?
Yeah.
But when it snows, these people they if it's half an inch, they lose their minds. They stop everything, stop all schools.
Yep.
We
Yep.
check your pipes, make sure that you're not frozen pipe. It's like, folks, it's a small little cold snap. No, it's the end of the world.
Yeah.
If it
Yeah.
snows
No,
like
it
down in
is.
Atlanta, oh my God, those people. 18 hours. They had a school bus stranded for 18 hours on an inch of snow, and it's like, what the hell's wrong with you people? How do you have kids stranded on a school bus for 18 friggin' hours? What the hell's wrong with you
Wow.
idiots?
Okay, I'm just gonna say it. Okay, walk, bitches, walk. All right.
I couldn't believe it. I was like, I was reading this thing. I was like, oh, you gotta be kidding me. Yeah, it's amazing how certain areas they have no understanding of how to deal with snow. Well, you guys up there, you have plows and everything else. For an inch of snow, they don't bring the plows out.
No.
Truthfully, for an inch of snow, no one brings plows out for an inch of snow. No one.
No.
right? The plows don't start getting out there until there's like until they're expecting a foot or more, right?
Yeah.
Or at least a good 6 inches, right? If they're not talking an inch of snow, plows don't even move,
Yeah.
right? Because there's no need to,
No, I
right?
agree.
Within 2 days, if it's just an inch of snow within 2 days, the roads are going to be clear anyway because people, roads because of people driving on them are always
Yeah.
warmer than the rest of the surrounding stuff. So it melts right away, right? And there's a
Yeah.
reason they call it blacktop because it absorbs heat,
Mhm.
right? Now that can get dangerous because at night it still turns into ice and people go, sliding off into Neverland, but different issue, slightly different issue. They will bring out the trucks
Yeah.
with salt and salt the snow.
Oh yeah, but that's not unreasonable. Let's be fair.
No, it's not. But I think we've held on long enough. We've harassed the poor people long enough. So I think it's time to end the stream.
Okay then. Well, thank you very much for your information, Nomad. That was most entertaining, to say the least. And thank you very much, ladies, gentlemen, and whatever you want to call yourself, for coming out and listening. Hope you'll be around for the next one and we can come up with the usual amount of drivel that we always do. See you then, people.